Be cool, be kind, be classy. A cupcake so sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives in New York City. Not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade, sipping motions and lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. Is a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Stack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish or Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Machegas. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcake's sweet and sassy. Not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
Good morning. Good morning. My friends, today is Monday. Sorry, it's not Monday. It's Wednesday, January 7th of 2026, of course. And many of you brought to my attention that you wanted to watch the Lindsay Clancy hearing today that is happening in Plymouth Superior Court. She is going to be there. Lindsay Clancy will be there by Zoom because she has been in Tewksbury Hospital for quite some time, undergoing many psychiatric evaluations. And I believe there was an emergency hearing held yesterday at 2 p.m. about how to transport her to court. I have not seen any feed of that at all. So what we're going to do today is we're going to watch today's hearing on Zoom. Once I log into the Zoom, I'm going completely silent because I'm not going to risk my voice coming through the Zoom because somebody else is on Zoom and is listening to me in the background. And then my voice comes through the Zoom for everyone, and it's just not cool. It's happened 3 or 4 different times on different cases, and we can't have that. So this is why we can't have nice things. If you are going to go on the court Zoom, please mute yourself. It's just basic. It's Zoom 101. Let me just give you, here's a piece from Boston 10 a bit earlier this morning to catch you up if you're not familiar with the case. And I didn't have time to do my show notes yet because, everything is happening today. So here, for those of you who are not familiar with the Lindsay Clancy, very, very tragic case out of Duxbury, Massachusetts, here's a little bit about what's going to be happening today.
Right to Plymouth, where the Duxbury mother accused of killing her children will face a judge virtually.
Today, that judge is expected to review her medical records, which could heavily influence how this trial is handled. NBC 10's Manoj Kwangwari live in Plymouth now. What can we expect today, Manoj?
Well, we're talking about 35-year-old Lindsay Clancy, and the lawyers will be discussing those medical records as well as psych evaluations because it appears that Clancy will be pursuing the insanity defense. Prosecutors obviously disagree with that theory. And so the other part of today's session will be both sets of lawyers presenting opinions from doctors on those medical records. Clancy faces charges of murder, strangulation, and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon for allegedly using exercise bands to kill she and her husband's children in February of 2023 after sending him out of the house to pick up takeout from a faraway restaurant. The defense argues Clancy, who was a former labor and delivery nurse, was suffering from postpartum depression and was overmedicated at the time. In fact, 7 separate medications were found in blood samples taken from her in the hours after the killings. We're talking about antidepressants, sedatives, and an antipsychotic medication. So Clancy right now is at Tewksbury State Hospital. So for this particular hearing, she will be appearing virtually. In any event, we will be listening in, and we'll be keeping you updated on what ultimately ends up happening. For right now, we're live here in Plymouth. Manoj Kwangwari, NBC 10 Boston.
Yeah, it's devastating. it's devastating. And the interesting thing about this case for me anyway, is that her husband has stood by her the entire time. He doesn't think she should go to prison. He thinks, I guess, she should go to a hospital. We have not seen a not guilty by reason of insanity plea in Massachusetts, and I'm going to have to research a little bit on how they handle that. This is Kevin Reddington, her attorney. We've seen Kevin Reddington. He represented Dr. Harry Turk, and he did a great job for Harry Turk because he got him off. Well, didn't really get him off, but he got him convicted of manslaughter, which was the lowest charge in the murder of his then wife, Katie McLean. And that was a tragic case. Dr. Harry Turk was a Dover surgeon. I believe he was from Dover, robotic urological surgeon. And he choked his wife to death and claimed that it was just in the heat of passion. And so the Norfolk County jury convicted him of manslaughter. And so we've seen Kevin Reddington in a lot of cases. He also represented Jennifer McCabe when she needed an attorney, when she was fighting against having her phone records released in the Karen Reed case. Okay. Let's look at today's affirmation for a badass. We do this every day. And you too can get these cards. A lot of you ask for them. I have a Amazon list in the show notes below this video. And we shuffle the deck and then we read our affirmation for a badass because you guys are all badasses and the snark tank and the smartest chat on the internet. And here's a great one for today. Today's badass affirmation is, I am my own cheerleader. Here you go. If you need to repeat that to yourself all day long, just say it. I am my own cheerleader. Yes, you are. Because if nobody's cheering, if you're not cheering for yourself, then nobody's cheering for you. This is the Lindsay Clancy case. It's right in the title of the video. And I'm going to log into the Zoom and then I am going to zip it. Because what we do not need is my voice coming through the Zoom feed. All right. I cannot do anything about the Zoom audio because I can't boost it. If anybody knows of a news organization, not another streamer, who is streaming this live on YouTube or their website, please email me the link at fanbase@mlittlellaw.com. We may be able to get a better camera angle than Zoom. However, sometimes we can't, and we get what we get, and we don't get upset. All right. Okay. So I'm going to go into the Zoom. Then I'm going to zip it. If anybody comes in and wonders why I'm not talking, you can explain to them, this is why we can't have nice things. And it's supposed to start at 11. Lindsay is supposed to be on Zoom. And we'll see when they let me in, how long it takes. This is Plymouth Superior Court. And look at Carla from Masses. I worked with Lindsay years ago. Something snapped with her postpartum psychosis. Is a real thing? It is. It is. And listen, helps me understand what happened with Kelsey Fitzsimmons a little bit more, right? No judge wants another Lindsay Clancy case on their hands. They just don't. And I could see that. However, I think with Kelsey Fitzsimmons, there were less restrictive measures, including the fact that she's not even allowed to see her child anyway. And so there's that. And thank God something like that didn't happen in the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case. And so we wait for the Zoom to start. I mean, I say that I'm going to be quiet, but the thing is that, you know, I can't stop talking ever. Barely ever. So this is supposed to start at 11. They're going to be talking about, I keep wanting to say Kelsey, Lindsay Clancy's psychiatric condition. And I believe that this emergency hearing was held yesterday afternoon. Lindsay Clancy is from Duxbury. I don't think there's any question that she took the lives of her 3 young children with exercise bands after she sent her husband to pick up the takeout food for dinner. She had severe postpartum. She was on, like they said, what did they say? 7 different medications, including antipsychotics when this happened. Not saying that's an excuse at all. But they're also going to be talking about the expert reports from all of the experts who I guess are going to testify at trial. And her trial is supposed to start in February. And so I believe today's hearing, it's the pretrial hearing, is going to be held. Lindsay is in Tewksbury Hospital, and she's going to appear by Zoom. She's been there since at least May of 2023. This is in front of Judge Sullivan in Plymouth County. Wasn't Judge Sullivan at one time assigned to the Karen Reed, the O'Keefe versus Reed case? I thought so. When it starts, she did. She jumped out of the window or off the balcony, and she is now paralyzed. She's now paralyzed. It's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. There's also an arraignment on Nick Reiner today that I'd like to cover. And I think that is supposed to be somewhere around 11:30 Eastern, but I don't know if there's going to be a camera in there. But I would like to cover the Nick Reiner arraignment because Alan Jackson is his attorney, number one. It's also a very interesting case, number two. I do believe today is his arraignment, and he probably will also be pleading not guilty by reason of insanity in California. And so we wait for them to turn on the Zoom. Yes, I'm sorry, you're right. The trial was moved to July. So right now, as it stands right now, this is a motion hearing today. There's a scheduling conference scheduled for January 27th. The trial had been scheduled to start February 9th, but now it appears that it has been pushed, at least for now, for July until July 20th. July 20th. And we wait. I also have another thing to read to you. Big, long article. Karen Reed has endorsed Adam Deitch for district attorney, and Mass Live wrote like a 16-page article on that. It was just published this morning. That article says that pursuant to campaign finance records, Karen and three of her criminal defense lawyers, Alan Jackson, Elizabeth Little, and David and Atty, each donated $1,000 to Adam Deitch to run for Norfolk County DA, as did Karen's father and several other lawyers from Alan Jackson's firm. Since entering the race in November, Adam Deitch has raised roughly $110,000 in his campaign coffers. He's leading the field. Adam Deitch oversaw the federal grand jury that investigated the state's handling of the Reed case. So that is interesting. I don't think there's any love lost between Karen Reed and her team and Michael Morrissey. Right. Do you? Let's make a banner so we can direct anybody that comes in to the banner below. And I imagine they're going to be talking about Lindsay Clancy's mental state today. Kevin Reddington is a really great attorney. He's really great. And he's very nice. And he did talk about me one day in open court. And I forget what case it was. I think maybe it was in the Turk case. And he said he was looking for a change of venue because there are people covering this case on YouTube, on the YouTubes. And there's one lawyer from Melanie Little, and she's very credible. She's very smart. And she's been covering this case on YouTube. Remember that? Somebody said that to me. I was on an airplane and he was talking about me in open court. Maybe I'll get him to come on the show one day. I have a lot of questions for him. NBC 10 has a stream. Thank you so much. You're the greatest. You are the greatest. Shelby for the win. There's a commercial right now, but I think they have a camera up. Thanks, Shelby. Deborah says, I've known Reddington since he first started as a lawyer. He was good friends with my mother. Love that. And it looks like we're going to get it. You guys are awesome. I'm going out of the Zoom for now. Bye-bye. No, we don't have to worry, but now I can keep talking. Now I can keep talking. No, I'm not covering Corey Richins because I've never covered Corey Richins. And for me to step into Corey Richins right now would be unduly burdensome, let's just say. And so if you want to go watch that, yeah, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to watch it somewhere else. I don't know. I tend to cover cases that I'm very passionate about and cases that I feel have some nuance to them. And I don't know what it is about the Corey Richins case, but I just can't get into it. I kind of think like, I mean, it's tragic and all, you know, what she did and she poisoned her husband, right? And then she wrote a book about grief and children's grief, and it was wild. I remember when it happened, and she did like the Today Show, and she was on all these morning shows trying to promote her book, and then it turned out that she probably maybe, I mean, innocent until proven guilty, poisoned her husband with like fentanyl in his, I don't know, what did he put it in his Moscow Mules? Fanbase@mlittlelaw.com is my email. That's the only email that I use. Hold on. And I cannot give you legal advice. I cannot represent you legally. If you need legal advice or you're looking for somebody to handle your case or give you advice, my best suggestion is to call your local bar association and talk to them and let them know what kind of lawyer you're looking for, and hopefully they will point you in the right direction. But I cannot give you legal advice. I cannot look over your 7,000 pages of records. Although I would love to. I just can't. I'm retired. That's why I have so much time to spend with you on YouTube. All right, hang on. Let's. For those who did not know, because you didn't hear it yesterday from me, is there's going to be another bond hearing for Sarah Grace Patrick. That is going to happen. There was a motion made the same day as the hearing that we watched for the new trial date. The trial has been pushed to August 3rd, which I think is a good thing because I think that we can get a lot more support behind Sarah Grace Patrick, and that's what I'm hoping for anyway. But the expedited emergency bond hearing for Sarah Grace Patrick in Georgia will not be happening until, I believe, January 27th, which we obviously will cover that live as well. That is also the same day as the Derek Todd trial is starting. Do you guys know about Derek Todd? He's the rheumatologist from, I think, Middlesex County, who has a lawsuit against him by 200 patients who say that he is inappropriate. Your volume.
Your Honor, good morning all. Before the court is the case of Cumwell versus Lindsay Clancy, 2383 CR 198. Just looking to see if we have Ms. Clancy in the Zoom. Just a second, Judge.
Lindsay is coming in by Zoom. This is Judge Sullivan, Plymouth Superior Court.
Appears to us by Zoom. Counsel for the record, please. This case is called for motions. Cumwell first.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jennifer Sprague for Commonwealth.
Attorney Sprague, good morning.
Good morning. I believe Attorney Kenny is on her way upstairs now.
Okay, all right.
And Shannon Buckingham also for the Commonwealth.
Attorney Buckingham, good morning.
Morning, Your Honor. Kevin Reddington on behalf of Lindsay Clancy, who, as you know, is on the Zoom with us.
All right, Mr. Reddington, good morning. Ms. Clancy, good morning. Can you hear me all right?
Good morning, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right. So this is really kind of a continuation of the discussions that we had yesterday. And what I wanted to do was kind of give you where I think we're going to go, and then see that we can go right there. One of the first things I want to talk about again is transportation and logistics issues, how we're going to do that. Then I want to go over medical records, kind of where we are in regards to discovery. Then I want to kind of see where we are in regards to the examination of the defendant by the Commonwealth's expert. And then I know there's a Rule 17 motion we have to talk about, and then talk about other needed dates before the trial. And the last thing that I will probably mention, so everybody has in their head, is the date to provide an updated joint pretrial memo, because I think that's going to be very helpful, at least for the court, in regards to preparation. And so I think the first thing that I would suggest bringing up is the transportation and other related issues in regards to it. I know we talked a little bit about that yesterday, but that was more, I think, in the frame of it being an emergency issue about whether or not Ms. Clancy was brought in today. We can now kind of take more of a deep breath and talk about kind of where we go. I know that they saw Attorney Kenny's here as well. And so why don't I hear from Attorney Kenny, if we would, as to what kind of what the Sheriff's Department thoughts are, or proposed plans or procedures, how they would follow in a case like this.
She's in the hospital. That's why she has a mask on.
Of the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department. As I represented to the court previously, we were forwarded the HABE to bring the defendant to court in this matter a couple times previously. It gets sent to Tewksbury, but because she's also held without bail on the murder charges, Tewksbury sends that to us. I originally thought that that might have just been because of the murder charges, but as I learned and explained to the court yesterday, I apologize, I have a cough drop in my mouth. I just have a little cold, so I didn't want you to think I was eating food.
I kind of pulled you right out of the audience.
That's okay.
Unexpected as well. Thank you.
As I learned yesterday, it's also essential because Tewksbury Hospital doesn't have the ability to transport, nor the security to be able to do it either. So as I indicated previously, the last time we were sent a HABE for her appearance, we received that from Tewksbury Hospital with a note that her medical information would follow. It did follow with a fax from Tewksbury that explained the nature of some of her medical needs. In light of receiving that fax, the transportation supervisor reached out to me and to our HSA, who is our health services administrator, and asked for a little bit more information to make sure that we could meet all of her needs. So our HSA, who was in court with me on the last date, did reach out to Tewksbury Hospital and spoke with someone there who provided just a little bit more background information about the medical necessity that would be required. And based on that information that we received, we understood that we could transport her in a van that we have that has been equipped to hold a wheelchair. It's a regular transportation van that we had, and about a year after we purchased it, we had it outfitted by a company specifically that does that to make it so that it can be used or utilized with a wheelchair. We had also indicated that based on the information we received from Tewksbury, we had no objection to sending a nurse along with Ms. Clancy. The information we had received from Tewksbury was that, likelihood she could handle any care matters that came up, but in the event that she did need some medical assistance, we thought it would be prudent to send a nurse along with her for that transportation. And so that was our plan based on the information that we had from Tewksbury. Obviously, since that occurred, I have received from Mr. Reddington an ADA request that he filed with the court with documentation from a psychologist, I believe, that has been seeing Ms. Clancy, that indicates that any sort of custody situation would create a sense of helplessness and loss of control that could trigger some mental health responses from her. I'm also in receipt of a 2-page letter, I believe it was just yesterday or Monday, that was forwarded to me, that instead indicated that she may actually need a stretcher and that she would need 2 nurses to accompany her. and it had some more detailed medical information. So before I had received those, like I said, based on our communications, that was our plan. That's all the information that I have regarding that. I only obviously have what Tewksbury shares with us, and then what I receive from her counsel separately or from the court in pleadings. If it is still the case that Tewksbury believes she could be in the wheelchair van, we are able to do that. If she requires an ambulance, I've spoken to our transportation officer about this. It's a much bigger ask. We would have to contract with a private ambulance company to provide that, because we do not have an ambulance, and Tewksbury does not have an ambulance. So there would be certainly a cost associated with that. There's also some logistics, is that the scheduling of an ambulance obviously can sometimes be a difficult thing given the nature of what ambulances are. I don't know if we would require the ambulance, the court would require the ambulance to stay at the courthouse the entire time that Ms. Clancy was here each day, to make that stretcher available to her if she needed it. If the ambulance were allowed to leave, it would then require the trial court officers to reach out to the sheriff's department, to reach out to the ambulance company to send the ambulance back. And obviously that would have to occur if that's what the court rules that she needs for transportation. That would require us to arrange that every day of her trial, for the duration of that trial. So we do not have another way to transport her if it's not in a van that can accommodate her wheelchair.
All right, thank you. Let me ask if, in regards to the information you received from Tewksbury, not considering the psychiatric concerns that were raised in a separate motion, would the Sheriff's Department be able to provide the care or the supervision that was kind of spelled out in that letter from the other day?
So that letter from the other day seems to indicate that she would need a flat surface, such as a gurney, I believe was an example. So we don't have a van that could accommodate a stretcher. So if she needed that during transport, it would be an ambulance. If it was a matter of getting a stretcher to the courthouse so that she had it here available, I can talk to our facility about whether we have some sort of medical bed that we could make available to her here. If she requires if the court finds that she requires 2 nurses, obviously that's a little bit more of a strain on our staff, as we would be then required to pull 2 nurses out of our medical unit in the jail. So I did actually briefly mention yesterday when I was speaking to the attorneys from Tewksbury if maybe they would be willing to split that with us, and maybe if they may be able to send a nurse from Tewksbury and we would send one from the House of Corrections, so there could be 2, but neither of our, because they also expressed concern about pulling 2 nurses off of their floor as well. And I know they're at least open to the idea of talking about it. It would probably involve conversations with the attorneys from DMH, because there are some union and labor issues that we would just have to work through individually with the individual departments. But it wasn't foreclosed when I brought it up yesterday. If the court does order her to have 2 nurses with her, perhaps one could come from the House of Correction and one from the hospital setting, so that neither is really shorthanded. I know this will probably be a lengthy trial, if I understand. And so it's just it can be done, but it would just take some planning. That's all. We're hoping to get an order from the court well in advance so that we can plan.
An advance order would be...
Yes, especially if there's going to be an ambulance involved, because that, in fact, yesterday we tried, in case the court didn't allow her to appear on Zoom today, we tried to see how we'd be able to maybe get an ambulance for today. We had struck out on all of the attempts that we had made. So advanced planning is key if there's going to be an ambulance involved and if there's going to be more than 1 nurse involved.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate the input. Ms. Reddington, what suggestions or proposals would you suggest the court implement in regards to the transportation, as well as while Ms. Clancy is here during the trial date?
That whole presentation is, as the old song back in the 70s is Radio Gaga. It doesn't tell you anything. The last time
Radio Gaga has
that
entered the
counsel
chat.
for the sheriff addressed this court, I got off of FTR the representations that were made to this court. That led to my filing the Rule 17 motion, which I think is central to the issues that you, and I don't envy your job, because this is a nightmare. This case is going to be a logistical nightmare. When you consider the facts that, number one, we have a person who is paralyzed and will be paralyzed for the rest of her life and has lost any sensation and any motor control whatsoever. And I am referring to the January 2nd, 2026 letter that I obtained from the physician's assistant who knows Ms. Clancy, who has been involved very, very deeply with her treatment and care, indicating that she lacks both sensation and motor control below the sternum, breastbone. When we had our hearing and counsel for the sheriff made representations to you, first of all, one of the things that was said is that it would be apparently the sheriff health services administrator, and I quote, reached out to the medical team there and learned that Clancy is confined to a wheelchair. However, she can self-transfer and can provide self-care in virtually all aspects of a day trip like this to the courthouse, a day trip like this to the courthouse. The only thing Tewksbury was requesting was that we transport her via wheelchair van, which we do have one of those vans available. Which begs the question, first of all, as my Rule 17 motion, I did an investigation, and I don't know who the heck they talked to from Tewksbury, but that's not the information I'm getting from Tewksbury. So I filed a request. Number one, I want a copy of the signed HIPAA form. That is a law. It's a federal law. We all know it, and it means something. That a person has to sign an authorization before people can willy-nilly make phone calls and talk to people about somebody's physical condition, mental condition, dealing with medical records and things of that nature, which apparently was done here.
Preach.
There's an awful lot of representations made to the court about someone from Tewksbury.
Let me stop it. What if, I think some of those representations and positions were made before the December letter from the physician's assistant. And if I have that information from that letter that was provided by you to the court, as well as to the Commonwealth, my thought is that seems to be more representative of what the condition is. And I'd like to go forward. If I adopt that opinion, the question I'd have is, what are the arrangements consistent with that medical condition that's set out in that letter? That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Understood, and I appreciate that, Your Honor. And facts and identification of the source of the facts are important here. You don't just reference someone from Tewksbury. In my Rule 17, I asked for identification of the person who is the health service administrator, apparently, for the sheriff that spoke to someone from Tewksbury about the day trip to the courthouse. I want to know who it is that worked for the sheriff's department that talked to them in Tewksbury. As I said, I want to have in my order a copy of the HIPAA form that was signed by Ms. Clancy, which I know and I represent to the court was never done. I want to know the identity of the person from Tewksbury who allegedly advises that she is capable of providing self-care in all aspects of the day trip to the courthouse, and that all they wanted was a transport via wheelchair. You take that letter of January 2nd that was addressed to whom it may concern, which unfortunately is you, because you are the one that ultimately has to decide the logistics of this case. And it is nightmarish. We are going to be in a situation where we have a woman who is paralyzed from the sternum down. Your Honor is well aware that she has no control over any of her bodily functions. Your Honor has the letter that describes in detail the requirements, and I know the letter's under seal. I'm just out of interest of trying not to get into embarrassing issues here. It's incredible the medical care that is necessary for the duration of the trial and periodically during the day. This is where it's advised to the court that she requires a two-person female assist for these issues, necessitating transfers to flat surfaces such as stretcher or exam table. How the hell does she come up with telling you that she's able to ambulate and self-transfer and provide self-care in all aspects of a day trip like this to the courthouse when you have this letter that tells you the condition that this woman is in, requiring two-person female assist for her care, that she has to be transferred to a flat surface, such as a stretcher or exam table? This isn't something that you got from the Sheriff's Health Services Administrator. This isn't something that you got from the lawyer for the sheriff telling you, well, we talked to somebody up in Tewksbury, someone from my office spoke to them. This is hard facts that we're dealing with here. So looking back at the letter, after the transfer to the flat surface, it has to be done on a regular basis. She then has other issues that have to be taken care of, as you can well imagine. She is not able to even use a handicapped bathroom stall. She has to have extra supplies available. She has to have a nurse that's not a veterinarian that knows what the medical condition of the individual is and can provide help. Not just some random person from the sheriff's department that's going to sit in a jump seat in the sheriff's van. This is what you have to deal with because we have raised the issue under 123.21, which is the statute that talks about, as in this case, a person who is mentally ill, who has been committed, if you will, to the care, custody, and control of the Department of Mental Health, Department of Health and Services, and the statute clearly indicates that anyone, any person, and that includes the sheriff, who transports a person with a mental illness to or from a facility for any purpose authorized under this chapter shall not use any restraints that are unnecessary for the safety of the person being transported or anyone likely to come in contact with the person. I've also requested ADA assistance. I researched into it and found that there is one form that is supposed to be used in the Superior Court in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts or any of the court systems in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That form was provided by the committee, as Your Honor knows, that is dealing with the Americans with Disabilities Act. She's an American, she's presumed innocent, she has a disability, she comes squarely under the ADA. I filed the request.
We know about the ADA in
Counsel
Mass.
for the sheriff indicated that I didn't ask the sheriff, I filed it randomly with the court. No, it wasn't randomly with the court, it's what was required by the Superior Court ADA. So I did file, ADA meaning Americans with Disabilities Act, I did file that request. So now we're dealing with 123.21, we're dealing with the ADA, and it does apply to this court. So my suggestion, Your Honor, is that I need to know who it was that they talked to from Tewksbury, because I want to interview that person. I want a copy of the HIPAA form, which I know they don't have, and I want to know who the person is from the Sheriff's Department that made these representations to Attorney Kenny, because Attorney Kenny, I'm sure, is relying on what was provided to her. So you, I think, have to have a hearing. Now, a hearing might entail evidence from the physician's assistant. Maybe it would require evidence, I don't know, maybe you have an independent evaluation. This whole thing raises issues of competence to stand trial. How's a person going to be able to go through the horrific emotion of this case for 3 to 4 weeks on a daily basis with these medical issues of significant concern, not to mention the fact, as is indicated again in the letter, which gives you the hard facts that we're dealing with, that she has significant suicidal ideation. That since she has been in custody, care, and control of DMH, and has been in Tewksbury, for example, she is on 24/7 watch by a third party. A person has to observe her. She cannot have access to anything that she can use to hurt herself. She's not a danger to others, that's for sure, but she's surely a danger to herself. So all of this, people telling you, well, Judge, you know, we can put her in the lockup, and we can put her downstairs, and we can move her up to here. It's not on me. If this woman kills herself during this trial, which there is a very real probability that
Wow.
could happen, it's on somebody, and it's not on me, because I'm coming in here with names, reports, facts, medical and psychiatric issues. And unfortunately, it all lies at your table because you are the judge that has to determine the logistics on this case. So that's why I think we need a full hearing.
Wow.
Commonwealth, do you wish to address the court?
Yes, Your Honor. So defense counsel referenced chapter 123, section 21, but what it states in the very beginning of that statute is that it applies only to the transport for any purpose under that chapter 123. So that's basically someone committed under chapter 123, and you're transporting to court to address those issues. This is clearly not that situation where she's going to be transported for a murder trial, a criminal case. So I suggest that the items listed in that statute describing how and when you can have someone confined or restrained don't apply here. In terms of the HIPAA form that defense is asking for, this woman is a prisoner held without bail on these charges and is in the custody and control of the sheriff's department. So they have every right to access her medical information because they're responsible for her care and treatment and keeping her safe, which they have done an excellent job up until now, and I assume they will continue to do so. Now, the letter from the physician's assistant dated January 2nd, 2026, never states that Ms. Clancy has to be transported in an ambulance. Never says that she has to have a stretcher for transportation. What it says is for bathroom needs, she requires the 2 females and a flat surface such as a stretcher or an exam table. So I think that the initial what's in this letter and what was initially described to Attorney Kenny is correct, that she could be transported in a wheelchair van, but we now have the additional information that we need to medical staff present in some type of table, which I think we could probably rent something, you know, you can rent medical equipment, so I think the court could arrange that, or the sheriff's department, however you order it. And the defense had mentioned how Ms. Kenny was able to come up with this information about Ms. Clancy being able to take care of herself. It's right in this letter from January 2nd. It says Ms. Clancy is able to independently transfer between her wheelchair and her hospital bed. So she is capable of transfer and movement, and that is what Ms. Kenny said. We now have this new information about bathroom needs, but that can be accommodated. So I don't think there's any reason for the drama here. There is no need for a hearing here. You have the letter from the physician's assistant. An order can be crafted from that, and the sheriff's department can comply with that. So I think it would be good for everyone to just take a breath and make a plan and follow the plan.
I'd like to respond, Your Honor, briefly.
Oh, I bet he would.
What I am going to do is make reference to the letter that was just referred to, which is January 2nd, 2026, that I obtained and requested. And counsel just told you that the letter says that Ms. Clancy, and I quote, is able to independently transfer between her wheelchair and her hospital bed. But what was not said is the rest of the sentence, which is that she has not had significant exposure to settings outside of the hospital since her injury and would likely not be able to safely manage transfers independently in unfamiliar settings.
Wow. She didn't read the whole letter, did she?
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to craft an order based largely on the information that the court has received from the physician's assistant from Tewksbury. And so that's the starting point that I'm going. That's really the only information that I have from one of her care providers that sets out the condition as well as limitations that I have to take into consideration. So I'm going to draft an order, and I am going to distribute it to both counsel on this as well as to the sheriff's department. And we may need a follow-up hearing in regards to that if the sheriff department says we can or we can't comply with that, or if the defendant feels this doesn't address enough the issues that are set out. But I have a very specific report as to Ms. Clancy's limitations and needs. And I'm going to craft to the best that I can in order addressing the needs of transportation to and from the courthouse, but also how we handle the time that she's here, what needs she needs during the trial, and off times if she's in one of the cells. So I'm going to try and draft as specific an order. We've all tried a lot of cases. We know, I think I know kind of some of the things that can happen, and there's waiting time and there's downtime in regards to that. So I'm going to try as best I can, but I know I'm going to overlook something. And so I think it's going to require at least one more run of everybody come in and say, okay, what do you think? What's the problem that you see? Sheriff's Department, what's the problem that you see? It may require issues regarding staffing. And it may be, if I put in the phrase something like a qualified nurse, the question is what's qualified? That may be something we have to specifically address. But I want to get this done within really the next couple of weeks or so. Because the one thing I don't want is to have everybody here for trial and then have something that we just didn't foresee create a problem. I don't think that is fair to either side, and so I want to avoid that. And I think the best way to do that is for me to it's on me. I know, I understand that. For me to draft this order, circulate it between the parties, and then have one more kind of meeting here to say, do you see a problem? Do you see a problem? Sheriff's Department, do you see a problem? And then get that in place. Then everybody can kind of figure it out. And if it requires getting a second nurse, and it requires phone calls, how we do that? Well, or not we, how they said it, or the getting a gurney or getting a stretcher that we can place in one of the cells on this floor, so it's not in the floors downstairs. At least then we can get going on that. It's not something we have to do the first day of trial. So that's what I'm going to do on this. I'm going to take a run at drafting this order as best I can, and then, but everybody should rest assured that that's not going to be the end of it. The parties will have an opportunity to kind of respond to it, and I would welcome suggestions. If someone says this is a better way to do this, or this is not addressing something we thought of, but at least it'll give us a starting point. And like I said, I have now a very specific report in regards to the defendant's condition and needs and limitations. So I'm going to take those into consideration. I'm also going to review it in regards to ADA compliance. I know that I have started to look into that in regards to that, but I think this may address those issues. So I want to make sure that the order I draft also is consistent with the ADA. So that's how we're going to deal with that. The next question that I had, there was some issues regarding some medical records from Tewksbury Hospital that I know we discussed maybe a couple of months ago. My understanding is that those records are now in, and it's also my understanding the original order was that both parties could have access to those records, but they are in at this point, as I understand. I checked the docket, so they're there. Parties, I signed a protective order today, so that the parties can have them, can have access to them, and get copies of them. And so I don't know if that addresses that part of what we were talking a little bit about yesterday. Commonwealth?
Yeah, I think under the rule that the records were requested under, the experts requested them through the court, and they were supposed to be sent by the court to the experts, but I have a copy now, so I can send them. That's fine.
Yeah, I think that's probably a more efficient way to do it. Any objection to the Commonwealth sending those records to their expert?
No, of course not.
Okay. All right. So if you need an order allowing that, we can do that. But why don't we handle it that way?
Right, and Your Honor should know that I have provided the experts with videos, notes, data, reports, everything from my 3 experts.
All right. Well, that takes care of my next question.
Your Honor, I hate to go back to it, but will you consider allowing the request that I had in Rule 17? I'm not sure if you were going to do that or not.
I'm not going to rule on that at this point because I think if we're talking about what information, how the information was gained by the Sheriff's Department or whatever, I have the information that I'm going to rely on, and it's coming from Tewksbury, the letter that I got. And so if there's any problems or dust up regarding how that information was got, that may be for another day, another forum. But I'm going to be relying on that information that I got from the physician assistants, not on anything that the Sheriff's Department provided. Now, the reason I'm not going to deny it, I'm just not going to act on it because we still may need more information as to who the individuals are that are going to be required to be present either in the van or the ambulance or here at the courthouse. I certainly think that may be something that the defendant may want to go forward on. So I'm not going to deny that motion at this time.
I also just want to make sure that if I need some assistance, we don't, as I understand it, require an ambulance with all of the accoutrements of an ambulance. I think basically a van with the chair, able to transport the chair is sufficient. I know that Tewksbury has done that on a number of occasions with her, bringing her to various hospitals all over the place for various testings, and they use a van. So I may have misspoken in the sense of an ambulance. I don't need an ambulance with all of the accoutrements.
All right. So I'm going to take, like I said, I'm going to take into consideration the facts that I have in front of me. And so I think that's kind of addresses kind of what you're saying. I didn't see anything in there that required the ambulance, but I'm going to take a look at it and review that. So we've got that. Where are we in regards to the Commonwealth's evaluation of Ms. Clancy?
Now that I have the records from Tewksbury, I'll provide them to the experts. The amount of time it takes them is voluminous. It's several years worth of records. So it would probably take them 30 to 60 days to go through them. And then they would have to schedule coming here and interviewing and testing the defendant and then prepare their reports. So we're probably looking at, for all of that to be complete, 3 to 4 months. And those are my estimates. I'm not sure. In the past, they've reviewed the records relatively quickly and efficiently. So I'm assuming they will now.
All right. Just so a little bit of a, I guess, warning's not the right word. This is going to trial in July. And so this is kind of one of the reasons, and this is not aimed at either because I know all counsel will work very hard in this case. But we now have all the records. We've got the experts lined up. We have a trial date, and one of the reasons why we moved the trial date from February to July was that we were going to make sure it's going to get done. So that date's a hard date. So that, for whatever that's worth. All right. Like I said, that's not a reflection. I know that all counsel are working very hard on this case. In regards to an updated joint pretrial memo, I imagine you're going to need to have the expert's opinion, obviously, before you update that. But I just put that in there because I know we have the trial date in July. Generally, you have, a week or two before that. I think it may make sense to have an earlier final trial conference on this, maybe sometime even in June.
There may be further discovery motions too, Your Honor, that we could perhaps do during March or that type of time frame. So there's some other issues that would be.
Okay, I mean, does it make sense from a next date for a discovery also in regards to any reactions in regards to the transportation order? Like I said, I want to give everybody a chance to weigh in on that. So
Judge, you have a scheduling conference already set up on the 27th
of
this month.
you want to keep that date?
That's fine.
All right, why don't we keep that? I'll get this order well within that, and that'll keep me on a short leash as well. And then on that date, January 27th, that will be to review the transportation order, the trial logistics, a little bit maybe an idea in regards to the expert timetable. And then I don't know if that would give you enough time to figure out additional discovery. We could argue on that date.
That's right.
All right, well, at least maybe let Commonwealth know what other kind of areas.
Right, it would just be pretty much, as expected, different experts, other cases that they've worked on and reports or
Just kind of
peer review articles.
I won't say the usual, but expert related discoveries. That a better way to put it.
We work well together, so I'm sure that we'll be able to.
So, and even if we can address it on that date, even if we're just setting dates for compliance and things like that.
Would the defendant be on Zoom for that next date?
I think so, only because it's not a final order yet. And that's kind of why I'd like to have it earlier rather than later. Then once we get the final order in place, then maybe the date after that, we could have it brought in to see if the order works. If there are any things that were overlooked by me that I have to kind of supplement or amend.
And Your Honor, defense had mentioned earlier in argument competency to stand trial. Just inquiring now, is that an actual issue? Is he going to request an evaluation?
It's as it relates to physical conditions, it had nothing to do with her intelligence or ability to understand under the Dusky standard, what's going on, who you are, who I am, counsel. There's no issue as to competency in that regard. I'm talking about having a person sitting through an 8-hour trial day for 3 weeks with these issues.
I mean, that's the way I took it.
Okay.
That at this point, I don't have any indication that that's an issue. We've all done during trials. The stress of a trial sometimes affects people differently, and so this would be no different than any other case if that arises. We can address it as it comes, but I don't see any indication, and I didn't take it as any type of notice that was a problem. But I think that was an appropriate question to ask in regards to that. So anything else that we need to address at this time? Commonwealth?
Do you know at this point whether we would be going full days or half days for trial just for planning purposes?
I would probably, I'd like to say full days. But again, there are physical issues that we may have to consider in regards to that. And it also may be a situation, in my experience, we might not be able to start right away, because of if she's coming down from Tewksbury. Sometimes that delays the start of a case. So why don't we say at this point, the plan would be full days, but that may change as we go forward.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
No, thank you.
Mr. Reddington, anything else?
No, thank you.
Can I just ask what time on the 27th?
I'll call it, Judge. 127, 2026 at 2 p.m.
Thank you.
I can see that date.
All right. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Be in recess.
We are at recess, Judge. 2 o'clock's our next call.
Thank you.
Court, all right, please.
All rise. Do you know how hard it is for me to not speak during a hearing? And the reason I couldn't pause that, it was because it was on, I think it was NBC 10's website. And so I could not pause. It was not on YouTube, and it's a hard thing to do. And Lindsay Clancy was on Zoom today for her hearing. If you're not familiar with the case, there are extensive show notes that I put in during the show beneath this video. And if you didn't see them, it's because you have to refresh your browser or go out of YouTube and come back in. But the basics, a very brief synopsis of this case is that Lindsay Clancy, who is now 35, is accused of killing her 3 children. They were aged 5, 3, and 8 months on January 24th of 2023 by strangling them with exercise bands while after her husband went to pick up takeout food. And then she went to a second-story window and jumped out. And because of that event, she is now rendered what they said paraplegic below the sternum. I don't know if she can move her arms because I was writing show notes and paying attention to a lot of things. She was on video from Tewksbury Hospital with a mask on because there is a very, very severe flu outbreak and she may just wear a mask all the time anyway. Today's hearing mostly focused on logistics, and the logistics are getting her to court from Tewksbury every day to Plymouth Superior Court. The notes say that she's paraplegic. She can move her arms. She is paralyzed from the sternum down. She's confined to a wheelchair. And she has difficulty with self-care. She needs 2 nurses. She's not always able to move herself, self-transport from the wheelchair to the bed, etc. Kevin Reddington, who is her defense attorney, who is one of the best defense attorneys, he's a private attorney in the state of Massachusetts, is pretty pissed. He's pissed because the DA came in. Her name is Jennifer, hold on. I wrote it in my notes. Jennifer Sprague. I think we've seen her in other trials in Massachusetts before. Jennifer Sprague had all kinds of information that the sheriff's office was able to obtain about her medical condition. And Kevin Reddington, as he should have, went nuts about HIPAA. Like, how did they get information on her medical condition from the hospital? It is protected by HIPAA, and they shouldn't be able to do that. He's like demanding everything. I want to see the HIPAA form that my client signed. I want to talk. I want to examine the sheriff. I want to talk to everybody who talked to everybody from Tewksbury, and I want to get to the bottom of this. Listen, she has the right as a defendant to be physically present at her trial. That's just part of the Constitution. That's the way it is. She should not have to show up at her own trial via Zoom. But Kevin Reddington is saying, number one, it's a violation of the ADA. Like, you need to figure this out. You need to figure out how to get her there. But number two, she is suicidal. And he is like, listen, if she takes her own life because you guys can't secure her to appear at her own trial, that's not going to be on my head. And we know how Massachusetts feels. We know how even the SJC feels about the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, because they didn't even seem to think that with regard to Kelsey Fitzsimmons and her bail conditions and having to blow into the handheld scram device, even after she was shot in the chest by a fellow police officer and had collapsed lungs and a lacerated liver and fractured ribs, they don't seem to really care about your rights as a disabled person. I mean, I'm just going to say it. It's where your constitutional rights go to die. And this is no exception. And if they can pay somebody like Hank Brennan, a mob lawyer, to come in and persecute Karen Reed for trial number 2, even though there's no conflict in the DA's office, they can pay him something like, I don't know, $600,000-700,000. You need to figure out how to safely transport a paraplegic from the hospital where she's being held to her trial, which they say is going to last 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And that's her constitutional right. I'm sorry if you don't like it. I'm sorry if you think somebody was writing in the chat that they think that she should be in prison life without parole forever. And like, we don't even know the facts. We don't know how many medications she was on. They say they found 7 in her bloodstream. We do know, I think it's clear that she did take the lives of her 3 children, and that is horrific and tragic, and I can't say that I absolutely agree with that in any way, that I can support that in any way. I have 5 kids of my own. Yeah, HIPAA lawsuit coming is what people are saying, and also violations of the ADA, and they need to be careful. And Mastad had a couple of good comments in here, and it's serious. It's serious stuff. You should not just be able to call up a hospital and say, "Oh, can you tell me about the condition of the patient in room 403?" Like, I know we have a lot of medical providers in the chat. So get it together. Get it together, Massachusetts. Get it together. She has apparently, she's pled not guilty to all charges. But Kevin Reddington has indicated that he may intend to, the defense may be not guilty by reason of insanity. And so he's going to assert a lack of criminal responsibility. And that is not guilty by reason of insanity in Massachusetts, in which you need to prove that the defendant lacked the mental capacity for criminal responsibility at the time of the offense. It's often tied to the ability to distinguish right from wrong. And apparently in Massachusetts, if a defendant does assert not guilty by reason of insanity, guilt is established first, and then there's a separate hearing to determine sanity at the time of the crime. At the time of the crime. And then, if that is successful, apparently she would be committed to a secure psychiatric hospital for treatment. I'm not sure which one. Is Tewksbury State Hospital, Mastad? I mean, a lot of you guys in the chat know. Instead of going to a prison. But her suicidal ideations are real. It's a real risk. And nobody wants that on them. If that would happen during the trial. And Kevin Reddington thinks it's a very, very real possibility. Makazi G is here. Good morning. Says how far it is from the hospital to the courthouse. It's an hour and 15 minutes on a good day, about 70 miles. Well, it's closer than Kelsey Fitzsimmons was from Chicopee to Salem, right? So transporting her daily is a whole other issue for an hour and 15 minutes. And I can't say that I'm, an expert on that transportation, but apparently Judge Sullivan, and I want to say we did see him in one hearing for Karen Reed's civil case, the Plymouth case. I want to say we did see him for one hearing. He's going to issue an order. He's going to draft an order, and then they're going to talk about it at the next hearing, which is going to be on January 27th. Kevin Reddington is nothing if not a fierce and zealous advocate for every single client he represents, even though many of you may hate his clients. He is exactly what you want in a defense attorney. And as Tom Kokanowski says, everybody hates defense attorneys until their kid needs one. She wouldn't go to Bridgewater because that's a men's hospital, says Mastad. So would it be Tewksbury or Tewksbury? And it is a tragic case no matter which way you look at it. And Mastad says, in Massachusetts, the burden on a not guilty by reason of insanity plea is on the Commonwealth. So the Commonwealth has to prove that she's not guilty by reason of insanity, or that she is, or that insanity does not apply in this case. But as of right now, I think, Mastad, she has pled not guilty. I don't know that that plea has been entered for her yet, but I think that is going to be the way that this turns out. And I think that she's being evaluated by experts. Tewksbury. And that is also going to be a point of contention. And as of right now, this Judge Sullivan says that this case is going to trial in July, come hell or high water. And Law Nerd says taxpayers paying nurses to coddle this woman. Tisk, tisk. Are you new here? Are you new here? First of all, we believe that everybody is entitled to the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. And we do believe that disabled defendants are entitled to the same protections under the Constitution as defendants who are not disabled. So it's been really nice knowing you, but you sound like a really mean person. And so peace out. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? I don't know. The human race, I think, has become just completely, so many people are disgusting and they don't belong here and we don't need them here. Yada, yada, yada. Thank you. Mass Dad says, Coddle, they're protecting her rights. Yeah. How come Massachusetts, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts can pay Hank Brennan, I don't know, what is the final number on how much Hank Brennan was paid? How much did they spend to try Karen Reed twice? John O'Keefe was not hit by a car. A car did not hit John O'Keefe, yet the Commonwealth paid nearly $2 million for that. But they don't want to transport a woman who is paralyzed from the sternum down to court every day because she's got the right to be at her trial. Some people are just disgusting. Lisa is an ex-corrections nurse, and she says that we treat inmates like we would a patient in the hospital. That's nice to know. Thank you. Because a lot of people think that, you know, these corrections nurses or the care that prisoners get is not the greatest. And so thank you for disabusing that notion. Appreciate you. And the work that you do. You're doing the Lord's work. I submit to you that anybody who strangles their children with exercise bands allegedly is not in their right mind. And if there were 7 different medications that were found in her system, and Lindsay Clancy was also a nurse, by the way. She was also a nurse, right? Expert Architect says that we're in the middle of an ice storm this morning in Tewksbury. Oh, thank you for your 5. And Cheyenne says, do you think the new DA will charge Matt with state? I don't know. I don't know I can't decipher that. I don't know what that means. First of all, there's no new DA yet in Massachusetts. And I don't know who Matt is. And so I'm not sure what you're asking me, but thank you for your super chat. Mama Cass says, gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. You are a sweetheart. I love you with all my heart. And Dexter Save Us in the Commonwealth has also gifted a membership. You're the greatest. Thank you so much. And Mama Firefly said, why are they catering to this woman? Surely she can't be the only wheelchair-bound prisoner. The fact that she is in Tewksbury instead of prison is baffling. And that's an opinion. Doctor on call. Oh, good. We have a doctor in the house. Right. She probably can't function outside of where she currently is. She hasn't had to yet. Yes, isn't that the point? Oh, Matthew Farwell. Oh, thank you, Debbie. Okay, so that super chat was referring to Matthew Farwell. And will he make state charges in addition to the federal charges? I have no idea. But we do know that there are federal charges against Matthew Farwell, former Stoughton police officer, for the murder of Sandra Birchmore and her unborn child. But the state has not brought charges because he was being protected by, Fanning, Tully, all the usual suspects, and Michael Marcy. They haven't charged him with state charges. So that's it. And yes, that is true. They said that also she's never had to function outside of Tewksbury because that's where she's been held since her arrest, I believe. And Miss Scarlett had a great point. She said the prosecution wants to make it too hard for her to be in court because people might have more sympathy for her if they see her. Correct. If they see her and she's in a wheelchair and she's paralyzed, they might have more sympathy for her. And I agree with you. I think that's a really great point. Marcello is coming in and he says, the Disability Act, the ADA, is just a piece of paper in Massachusetts. The SJC didn't care. Why would a lower court care? I like this Judge Sullivan so far a lot. Mastad, you can tell me what his reputation is in Plymouth and throughout the state, but I really like him and I think he's going to try and be fair. And I think he's going to try and do whatever he can to get her to court and get her to court safely. Right? Need Some Z says this is an issue they need to address throughout the entire system because it's not like she'll be going home. She will need to be housed and cared for the rest of her life by the prison system, right? If she is sentenced to prison instead of psychiatric hospital. You are correct. Joanna says the amount of money they have to spend to make it happen should not matter. They did get hanky-panky, a lot of money to do nothing. Very good. Very good. Renee says, educate yourselves, people. Postpartum is real, and it did happen to her, as well as many women after giving birth. She was a successful nurse, and she had returned to work, and then she found out that she was pregnant. Thank you for your thoughts and for your compassion and your empathy, which many, many people don't seem to have anymore. It's wild to me. Sarah says, Sarah sent a super sticker. Thank you, Sarah, so much. Law and Crime says they're going to have a camera in the courtroom for Nick Reiner, but I'm not sure if that's true because, first of all, it's not up yet. And second of all, they may just be waiting outside the courthouse. I'm not sure. And Stephanie says, gender is interesting. If she was male, the father, where would he be? Same evidence and circumstances. Well, I submit to you that a man cannot suffer from postpartum psychosis because that's a female hormonal thing. And so I think you're talking about apples and oranges. Nicole says, let's all take a moment to be thankful for what we have and people and animals we love. We are lucky to be here another day. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for your 10. I appreciate you so much. And then Nicole also became a member or re-upped. I'm not sure because I know you've been here for a long time. Mel G says, I support postpartum families. We need support for all families during postpartum periods so this can be prevented. Praying for Lindsay and her family. No winners here. No, there are no winners here. And here's the thing also. After what happened to Kelsey Fitzsimmons and the way that she was treated as a mother with postpartum depression, and she had just been cleared to go back to work as a police officer in North Andover. For those of you who are not familiar with Kelsey Fitzsimmons, she was treated very poorly. And so isn't that going to discourage other women from coming forward and getting help for postpartum? I am very lucky. I have 5 kids, 4 pregnancies. I have a set of twins. I never experienced postpartum psychosis, but there are a lot of celebrities who have been very, very vocal about it. And I think Brooke Shields is one, if you can name any others, because sometimes it takes celebrities to bring attention to stuff like this because people just don't listen to the average person, right? And this is how they treat them, right? And they took her baby away based on an ex parte order. And when they went to serve her with the restraining order and took her baby from her breastfeeding infant, Kelsey Fitzsimmons, in North Andover, she says she pulled out her weapon. She wanted to take her own life, just like we hear Lindsay Clancy is now extremely, extremely suicidal. I don't know if there's such a thing. Suicidal. And they shot her in the chest. And then they threw her in she was airlifted to the hospital, to Mass General, stayed there for 53 days, had at least 5 surgeries. And then she was the one charged. It's wild. And then the judge threw her back in jail because she could not blow into the scram device for alcohol monitoring, even though there was no alcohol involved in the alleged charges. It's wild. Ellen, thank you so much for becoming a member. Charlie from Australia says more Massachusetts DAs telling half-truths. Brenda Paw says that Sarah Grace might lose her attorney. Thank you for that. Don't know what that means, but if our queen Latoya Williams goes into private practice, I think that we could try and help fundraise for a legal defense fund for Sarah Grace Patrick because she needs our help. Thank you. Casey Paralegal says, is there a hospital with a courtroom? I don't know the answer to that. Does anybody know? Thanks for being with me for 9 months. I don't know the answer, Mastat. If you do, let me know. I mean, there has to have been other cases like this where there's a disabled defendant who needs special care and transpo, and I find it hard to believe that they've never, ever done this before. So let me know if you know. Lisa Rinna had PPD. Okay. Nicole says PP has been swept under the rug for decades. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Georgia Jules Rules, for your super sticker without a question. Thank you, Norman. Look at Norman. Norman either go into the Google or just knows this. Hold on. He says all of these women, these famous women, have suffered postpartum depression and been vocal about it. Adele, Chrissy Teigen, Gwyneth Paltrow, Hayden Panettiere, Brooke Shields, Cardi B, Reese Witherspoon, and Courtney Cox all suffered. I would love to get one of them on the show to talk about it, because we need to talk about it. It needs to be talked about. There are so many things that are so forbidden to talk about, it seems. This is just one of them. Just one of them. Oh, look at this. Cheryl says that Marie Osmond also suffered, left her house for about 3 weeks, I think, drove to another state. And Dr. Jen, Toxic, says it's the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. It's hormonal. You can't control it, right? I have to do a deeper dive into it because I have to admit that I'm not up to speed on postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. Danielle, thank you for your super chat, but I don't give legal advice, so I don't know if this is for like your friend or something. So it says, can a person blackout drunk shoot and kill a lifetime friend, make up a story for the cops? Can they use the same defense? Oh, so if a person is blackout drunk and shoots and kills a friend of a lifetime, and they make up a story saying what? That they were blacked out or something at the time, can they use the same defense? Well, you know who did? Harry Turk. Harry Turk did. Dr. Harry Turk said that that he was drunk when he killed Katie McLean. You guys refresh my recollection, because you know that also, Betsy, thank you for your Venmo. She says, I love you with all of my heart. She says that every day. She says, every time she sends me a Venmo, she says, I love you with all my heart. Harry Turk said he kind of blacked out and then he choked her and then he's not really sure what happened. And so the jury convicted him of the lesser charge of manslaughter. And so it happens. Yes. Remind me how much we paid Welcher. How much we paid Welcher to paint himself. It says Cosgrove's Velcro sneakers. I think like 600. I think in the end we went over all of the invoices, and I think it was like 600K. Well, I'm just saying, part of it is hormonal, but I don't think that men can suffer from it. I think that was the point of my statement in a very broad strokes, is that I don't think that men suffer postpartum depression because they can't give birth. And Pierce said, if it's hormonal, why is it treated with psychological meds? Honest question. You'd have to ask a doctor, but I'm just saying that is the reason why I can't equate this or even hypothesize about this being happening to a man, because it's just not the same thing. How much did we pay to look into rubber ducks? That's right. That is right. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Sarah says, I'm afraid that they're not going to be streaming with a pool camera at Nick's hearing. The cameras are outside. Okay. Well, I've got law and crime up. I mean, if the cameras go on and they come out and Alan Jackson is there or whoever's there is going to speak, I can pivot right to that. So just stay tuned. You don't have to go anywhere else. You can just be right here for all of your needs of everything that's happening today. Joanna White says she needs to be in a home that can accommodate her medical needs, where she can be watched 24/7, and they need to bring court to her. Maloney's Law says postpartum depression is way different than postpartum psychosis. You are correct. Under the Dawns, it says, thank you for your 5, says, thank your daughters for the Rotten Mango recommendation. Her Karen Reed videos are awesome, really detailed. Yes, she's also going to be interviewing Karen Reed. I think it's already been taped, but it's going to come out next Monday on the 12th, and that's going to be exciting. If you guys don't know who Rotten Mango is, it's probably because you're in my age demographic and not my teenagers. But when I was covering, I told the story last night, when I was covering Karen Reed, my kids were kind of like, you're not really paying attention to what I was doing until they saw Rotten Mango covering, and her name is Stephanie Sue, SOO, covering Karen Reed. And then they said, wait a second. Is that the case you're covering the Karen Reed case that Rotten Mango just covered? And I was like, yeah. So there you go. Hang Meg says, I thought by being willingly under the influence, you were legally responsible. Depends on the state. It depends on the state. Every state has its own rules with regard to that. And so that is a good point. So it depends on what state you're in. Please hit the like button to push the video out. Thank you so very much. Oh, okay. So if you guys didn't see the trailer, let me show it to you. Stephanie put up a trailer the other day. Hold, please. And she's teasing that she's going to be interviewing Karen Reed, and I think Alan Jackson too, next Monday. However, she doesn't come out and say it, but I think we can, using our contact clues, I'm going to show you the teaser, and you tell me what you think. And also, there's a Karen Reed Lifetime movie that is going to air this coming Saturday night. Also, is Zoom at the hospital not an option? Well, she was Zooming from the hospital today. But she has the right, the constitutional right to be present at her own trial in person. And they need, in my opinion, they need to accommodate her. All right, take a look. Here's the Rotten Mango teaser for the exclusive interview this coming Monday.
Should I start with the cups or should I ask her about the dog first? Maybe.
Wait, I think we should ask her about the ceiling fan.
January 12th, 2026, Rotten Mango podcast.
Wait, should I start with the
Here's
cup?
her Kango. Here's her Kango. I don't even know what, that's not even a word. Here's her channel. It's called, let me get Scott's comment down. Rotten Mango. She's got 6.12 million subscribers. 6.12 million subscribers. So if Karen wants to get the word out about her case, I think that was, a good choice. Good choice. I don't remember because I didn't go back and watch her series again. I think she did more than one video on Karen Reed. And the thing about Stephanie is she mostly covers cases after they're resolved. We do a lot of things live. We do a lot of things that are ongoing. And so if you want to watch her interview with Karen Reed, it's going to drop on Monday. Interesting. She does a very thorough job. She did get a couple of things wrong in the listen, it's hard. It's hard when you're covering a lot of cases to get every single thing right all the time. So thank you. Under the Dawns for your 5. And proctorial misconduct is here and says if she's found guilty, will she be sent to a regular prison? Yes. If so, do they accommodate or is she simply on her own? Prisons are famously not caring. Well, it depends if the ADA is supposed to apply. She can't be the first paralyzed prisoner in Massachusetts if it goes that way. But I don't know. She would be maybe in a medical ward. Is Chicopee the women's prison? Do they have a medical ward? Do they have the ability to care for her? It's a problem. And they better figure it out. If not now, when? Thank you for your 5. Ms. Adrian says, Massachusetts has corruption everywhere. What gets me is that therapy for postpartum depression or psychosis is to write our intrusive thoughts. Can they use her therapies as premeditation? I don't know. I don't know what evidence they have with regard to that. I don't know if they have any diaries of her. I don't know if they would be admissible, but that's very interesting. So you're saying that part of the therapy for postpartum psychosis is to write out your intrusive thoughts. That's really interesting. That is really interesting. I'm going to have to workshop it. And I think that you raise an excellent point. And as we get closer to trial, we will obviously be going over motions in limine, and we'll see if they bring it up. Nicole says, no official data exists on exact number of inmates with disabilities in Massachusetts. MassDoc says 42% of males have open mental health cases, 29% are on meds. Females have 78% open mental health cases, and 65% are on meds. Thank you, Nicole, for doing the Lord's work and for your 20 and for looking that up. Blessed Mom from Texas has been here for 20 months, and she says, love to all cupcakes, mods, and more love, folks. Thank you so much for being with me for so long. Irish exiting Mima says, male postpartum depression has been identified. It occurs within the same time frame as women. I can see that. Parenthood changes our lives. Some want the attention that partner has and the baby. I disagree calling it postpartum depression. I'd have to look at the DSM to see what's in there. So I cannot confirm or deny. That's wild to me that they would call it the same thing. But thank you for your 10. I appreciate you. Let's take a look at the new article from Mass Live. Thank you, Tiffany, for your matcha latte. I appreciate you so much. Says thanks for everything you do to help people. Let's take a look at the article that dropped regarding Karen Reed and her attorneys endorsing Adam Deitch. I can tell you one second. And if you don't know who Adam Deitch is, I think I will play you his campaign video. He has decided to run against Micah Marcy for the spot of Norfolk County District Attorney. So hold on one second. Because Norfolk County needs to tighten up its game. And the people of Norfolk County deserve better. Do you think? I don't know. Just spitballing with you here is all. So we do. Hang on one second. While I pull this up for you. This is the campaign video of Adam Deitch, who was part of the investigation. He worked for the feds. He was part of the investigation into the investigation of the murder of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. And here's his campaign video.
Everyone deserves to live in a community where we feel safe, where we have trust in our leaders to serve with competence, integrity, and professionalism. My name is Adam Deitch. I grew up in a community with safe streets, good policing, and faith that those in power were honest, hardworking public servants. Until 10 days ago, I served as a federal prosecutor in Boston. I took on cases throughout Massachusetts: bank robberies, gun and drug cases, child exploitation, cyber stalking, and all kinds of fraud. But what I've spent most of my time doing is trying to root out public corruption in our state, including and especially right here in Norfolk County. I left my job in the U.S. Attorney's Office because when I see a problem, I want to solve it. Over the course of my career, I've learned that the overwhelming majority of police officers and prosecutors work hard and do the right thing. I've also been proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with members of law enforcement who work tirelessly to keep our streets safe. But I also know there can be grave consequences when they don't. I've seen firsthand what happens when police and prosecutors take shortcuts, rush to judgment, and then stubbornly won't consider other possibilities. That's what's been happening in Norfolk County for far too long. That's why I'm running for Norfolk County District Attorney as a prosecutor, not a politician. Norfolk County deserves leaders we can be proud of, who serve with honesty, transparency, and accountability. This campaign is about more than electing a new district attorney. It's about building a culture of accountability and integrity where professional police work protects victims, not insiders, and where we follow the
Victims, not
evidence no matter
insiders.
where it leads or who it implicates. That's the standard I've lived by prosecuting corruption throughout Massachusetts, and that's exactly what I'll do as the next Norfolk County DA. Together, let's build a district attorney's office we can be proud of.
You know what's so interesting to me, and I just noticed this, but I want to go back a second here. Hang on. Look at the beginning of his video. See this?
Integrity and
Integrity. See, do you see the font that he's using here? Okay. Now, tell me. The billboard that the House defendants have purchased that is outside Gillette Stadium. Yeah. And the give, send, go. Okay, you see that, right? You see that integrity? Here's their give, send, go. Testify, defendingthetruth.org. Do you notice a similarity? I don't know if it's a coincidence. I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. But that just stuck out to me. Right? Let's let this play a little bit more because I see it again in here. Hold on.
professionalism. My name is Adam Deitch. I
See the font? Adam Deitch. You see that? Trust. See that? I mean, it might be confusing for people who have been. You tell me. Who have been following both Adam Deitch's. I mean, what are the odds? It's like it seems to me like the same font. I don't know, but the House defendants give, send, go is up to $118,000. And for those of you who are not familiar, StreamYard just screwed up. So if I need to share audio, I'm going to need to refresh. But as for right now, I think we're okay. Here's what it says. Over the past few years, many have asked how can they support witnesses in the John O'Keefe case who continue to be relentlessly harassed and defamed. Now is the time. And apparently the money in this fund is going to go to the House defendants, Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, and Brian Higgins. And this is the same give, send, go that Yuri Buchanan has been publicly endorsing, publicly soliciting donations for. And does that show clear bias against Karen Reed and Aidan Carney? Aidan Carney's attorneys want you to think it does, and I tend to agree. Massachusetts State Police are supposed to be unbiased and trustworthy. Yet, here we are. Here we are. And didn't Nicole Albert say during their big interview that they did, you should really think twice about ever being a witness because it can ruin your life kind of thing? I'm paraphrasing. So why would this billboard of theirs say testify when they are telling everyone you shouldn't testify? You shouldn't. It could ruin your life. I don't know. Just spitballing here. Let's take a look at this article that was published this morning on, I think this is Mass Live. Karen Reed endorses challenger who investigated her case to unseat the Norfolk DA. This is from this morning, January 7th at around 9:25 a.m. Look at us being right on top of things. Thank you to a special friend who sent that to me. A picture of Karen. And it says, Reed listens to her attorney, David Yannetti, address Judge Beverly Cannoni during her trial at Norfolk Superior Court Thursday, June 12th, 2025 in Dedham. Written by Charlie McKenna at Mass Live. As the race for Norfolk County District Attorney heats up, hold on. Okay. As the race for Norfolk County District Attorney heats up, Karen Reed and her lawyers have thrown their weight behind the newest candidate to enter the race, former federal prosecutor Adam Deitch. Campaign finance records show Reed and three of her criminal defense lawyers, Alan Jackson, Elizabeth Little, and David Yannetti, each donated $1,000 to Deitch in December. Reed's father, William, also donated $1,000, as did several other lawyers from Jackson's Los Angeles, California-based firm. Several of Deitch's former colleagues in the U.S. Attorney's Office have also donated to his campaign. Since entering the race in November, he has raised roughly $110,000, leading the field. Deitch oversaw the federal grand jury that investigated the state's handling of the Reed case. No indictments or arrests ever came from the federal investigation, which was closed this year. Well, it'll be interesting to hear what he says about that, because I don't think the feds announced when they closed the federal investigation, and we can just say no indictments or arrests have come yet. Remember how long it took for them to arrest Matthew Farwell? Years. Reed and her lawyer, it says the donations were first reported by political newsletter Master List. I don't know anything about Alan Jackson being out in the Nick Reiner case. Somebody came in here before and said that TMZ was saying that. I'm not seeing that on TMZ. If you've got receipts on it, send them to my inbox, because there are some creators who will spin anything the way they want to spin it. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. If you can give me a receipt from, an official news source, I would love to see it. Legal Swag says that they're going to make a statement later regarding his withdrawal. I don't know if that's true, but I like to see receipts. So if you have a receipt, please send it to me, fanbase@mlittlelaw.com. Reed and her lawyers were not shy in their criticisms of incumbent District Attorney Michael Marcy, who has held the position since 2010 during her 2 criminal trials. They accused Marcy of being complicit in an effort to frame Reed for the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Marcy has not said if he will run again. His campaign brought in only one $200 donations. Only one $200 donation in all of 2025. Wow. You can't make that up. Still, he has more than $400,000 in cash on hand should he decide to enter the race. Well, he should have spent his cash on hiring Hank Brennan, because there was no, thank you, Lori. There was no, we've got the law and crime feed up. So if they go live, we're going to switch right over to it. So no worries. But you know what? Since they may go live on it soon, I'm going to refresh my browser now, because StreamYard has kicked me out. So just hold tight. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Look, if it's true, we're going to cover it, because law and crime is there with the camera. So just hold tight. Got to refresh the browser. Okay. Back to this article. The Lifetime movie, Scott, is on Saturday, not Friday. That's why I deleted that. It's Saturday night. I wonder who donated $200 to him in all of 2025. One person donated. Deitch is one of several candidates running to replace Marcy, who has faced criticism not just for his handling of the Reed case, but also for his office's investigation of the death of Sandra Birchmore. Birchmore was found dead in her Canton apartment in February of 2021, and her death was ruled a suicide. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Even though they had all kinds of evidence that Matthew Farwell had a relationship with Sandra Birchmore, that she was pregnant with a baby, that she told Matthew Farwell was her baby. Guess who did her phone extraction, or some of the phones? Garino was involved in that. Fanning quickly cleared his buddy, Matthew Farwell, who was a Stoughton police officer, because I think maybe Fanning also started off in Stoughton PD. And Michael Marcy never brought charges, although he's now under federal murder charges for not only Sandra Birchmore, but her unborn baby. It's also been announced Sandra Birchmore's baby was not the baby of Matthew Farwell, even though she told him it was. We still don't know who the father actually is. Another twist. It is also true, if you're not familiar with the Sandra Birchmore case, I have a whole playlist on it, that Matthew Farwell was part of the Police Explorers program, which was a program for children who wanted to become police officers. He met Sandra Birchmore when she was about 12 as part of the Police Explorers program, took her virginity at the age of 15. That's all in the thousands, tens of thousands of messages between them. And Robert Devine was the head of that Police Explorers program. He has recently done a couple of there was a few hearings that Andrea Burkhart did an amazing job analyzing. I have not had a chance to watch them yet, but I trust Andrea Burkhart, fellow law tuber and real life friend, with that subject matter. She's amazing. And he's recently, I think, been decertified. Robert Devine went and became a lawyer after this whole thing happened. So we don't know. We don't know who the father is. But federal prosecutors have since charged Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell with killing Birchmore and accused him of grooming Birchmore beginning when she was a teenager. In addition to Deitch, former prosecutors Juna Perkins and Craig McClellan have entered the race to replace Marcy, as has Jim Barakat, a public defense lawyer. Perkins has also reeled in some high-profile donors, including Ralph Martin, a former Suffolk County District Attorney, and Jerry Leone, a former Middlesex County District Attorney. Her campaign has raised about $83,000. McClellan has raised north of $50,000 with donations from attorneys at Nutter, McClellan, and Fish, and Goodwin Proctor, LLP. I don't know if that's a relation. Fourth candidate, Barakat, has raised just shy of $500. And there you go. Oh, and Karen Reed's Lexus is going up for auction. If anybody wants to bid on it, I think I have that for you as well. Hang on. There was a body shop owner, I believe, who took up Karen's Lexus and fixed it up. And now they are going to auction it off. Hold, please. And I don't know where the proceeds are going. I don't know if they're going to Karen's legal costs. I'm not really quite sure, but hold on one second. And I will tell you. And this is a video from Howie Carr's Facebook. Let's see what Howie Carr has to say about this. We have the Law and Crime feed up for any Reiner press conference, so we will pivot to that if or when they go live.
This is not a murder weapon. Karen Reed's black 2021 Lexus. It's going up for auction. There've already been people that are interested.
If somebody's really interested and they want to make a preemptive offer, do so because the rest of the world can as well.
Make them an offer they can't refuse. They have to go through you, Justin, because you're handling it.
And the exchange is going to be very simple. It would be very similar to just buying a used car where you're filling out the paperwork and you're getting the title and the vehicle. And as we know, it's been cared for and brought up to a very high level from where it was.
Money will go to Karen Reed's legal defense fund. He needs the money just to keep these lawsuits going.
We had tons of people telling us that we shouldn't be auctioning a murder weapon.
2 separate juries said that she was not guilty of murder. She got acquitted by 2 juries.
People can think and say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, this is a business sale. This is an asset sale. The buyer can have whatever thoughts they have in their own mind of it and why it has value to them.
You never take your first bid, right, Justin?
I definitely don't. Whether you want it to put in your garage or you want to have it in your museum, it's going to sell to the person that's willing to pay the most money for it.
I want to drink, so I'm not really ready to heal yet. Just stand on that because
this is not a...
So there you go. That is Howie Carr's version of
to say I want to heal my marriage and I want to get better.
Stop. Yeah, my lights are on. Why? Does it look like my lights are not on? Somebody asked me if my lights are on. If maybe you need to turn the brightness up on your phone or whatever. I don't know. I have a ring light. I have my light from my other ginormous screen that I have next to me. All right, let's see. We've got an article. Thanks, little cupcake. Thank you, little cupcake. Apparently, it says here TMZ is always first to break the news. Always first to break the news. And we've got Law and Crime up, so if they go live with this, we'll be live with it as well. Here you go. And it says, Rob and Michelle Reiners. Oh, for the love of the traveling Mary. You may have to go to reader mode for this one. Oh, please. 3 to 4 minutes ago at 9:18, so 12:18 Eastern Time, Nick Reiner's lawyer, Alan Jackson, is withdrawing from the case, according to TMZ. Rob and Michelle Reiner murders, Nick Reiner's attorney withdraws from the case. And this was just about moments ago. And here's Nick Reiner and Alan Jackson. Nick Reiner's lawyer is off the case, TMZ has learned, and Nick will, at least for the time being, be represented by a public defender. Sources connected to the Reiner family with direct knowledge tell TMZ when attorney Alan Jackson appears in court today for Nick's arraignment, he will inform the judge that he's no longer representing Nick. There's a picture of Alan at some point getting out of a big black SUV. Our sources say a public defender will step in for now and the case will be continued. Nick will not enter a plea. Interesting. As for why Jackson is off the case, we're told the family will be releasing a statement as soon as the proceedings are over and TMZ will post it. Maybe they couldn't afford him. I don't know. TMZ reported it is likely Nick will eventually plead not guilty by reason of insanity. He was diagnosed with a form of schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, and we're told his meds had sent him off the rails in the months before the murder. This is TMZ, and that's why they phrase it that way. Here's a picture of Alan Jackson speaking to media on 12/17/25. I'm pretty sure we covered that live. Here is one of the greatest pictures of all time, although it's not as flattering to Alan as he would probably like. This is Karen Reed and Bill Reed and Alan Jackson, and looks like Liza Little, David Yannetti are back there. Bob Alessi is back there. And there's Evan Woke all the way in the back. Look, he looks like he's photobombing. And this is Karen addressing all of her supporters outside the courthouse after her acquittal. 6/18/25. Jackson is coming off a huge victory in the Karen Reed trial in Boston, where she was found not guilty for allegedly killing her boyfriend. It's unclear if the public defender is a stopgap until another lawyer takes the case, or if the public defender will handle the case from this point forward. There's a picture of Rob Reiner, Michelle Reiner, and their son Nick, who I believe is now currently 33 years old. And this, no matter what way you look at it, is a very horrifically tragic case. Did anybody see Chelsea Handler's monologue for the Critics' Choice Awards? Did anybody see it? I was on with you the night of the Critics' Choice Awards, and I taped it and I went back and watched it so I could fast forward it later. Shout out to Rhea Seahorn for winning for Pluribus. For those of you who watch it, you know. Chelsea Handler in her monologue started talking about how she said somebody is the nicest guy in Hollywood. And then she said, actually, though, really, Rob Reiner was the nicest guy in Hollywood. And then they panned around the room and the facial expressions on the actors. I was like clenching my cheeks. I was like, if she tries to make a joke about Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner right now, everyone's going to walk out of the room. It was wild. And so she didn't. Thank God she didn't. But I couldn't believe it. If you guys know, you know, right? If Jackson speaks to the media after the hearing, we will live stream it, says TMZ. But we've got it too. We've got Law and Crime up, and they're on top of it because Kathy Russin, I think, has also been, somebody said live tweeting from the courtroom. So let's see what Kathy Russin has to say. She's Law and Crime. I think she's the head producer there. I'm not really sure exactly what her title is, but we will be covering it. Interesting. If he's being represented by a public defender, that means that apparently they did not have the opportunity to hire another private attorney. The family, not sure. And so we're waiting to see if there's going to be a statement after court. So I feel like I always thought that lawyers should be called waiters because you wait a lot when you're a lawyer. You could spend the entire day just waiting in court for your case to be called. So much downtime. And we wait. Kathy Russin, 16 minutes ago from Long Crime, said Alan Jackson is withdrawing. He's expected to speak to the media outside the courthouse after the arraignment today. We just read the article. TMZ broke the story as they usually do. Kathy Russin said, yes, we will have whatever happens inside the courtroom and outside the courthouse. That was 12 minutes ago. And, as usual, there's some nasty comments on under there like, oh, that's huge. Guess he realized he wasn't going to get a huge payday. And we are told that he's not going to be entering a plea today because they're going to need some time to regroup. And another attorney will need to get up to speed on the case. So we will just keep it right here until if and when they go live. They had it set for 11 a.m. Eastern. And as of right now, we're just waiting. I hope he got some kind of a retainer for the work he's already done on it. Thank you, Georgia. Georgia Jules says, I sent you an email about another case in Georgia to compare to Sarah Grace Patrick. The victim is 16-year-old Mia Campos and her unborn child. Not much coverage. Thank you very much. I will take a look at that when I'm able. Thank you for your super chat. Proctorial misconduct coming in with a hot fiver and says, unpopular opinion, but I believe in Walsh there was no actual proof for the jury and they voted with emotion. I fear this may end up quite similar. My opinion on Walsh is that that evidence should never have been allowed in because it was outside the scope of the consent warrant, but I do not have faith. I know there's been a notice of appeal filed, I believe, in Walsh. I do not think that the SJC will overturn that. I just don't. I unfortunately have become familiar with so many of their opinions by falling into the Karen Reed case, and they don't believe, double jeopardy doesn't seem to be a thing in Massachusetts. It's wild. I believe personally that evidence was outside the scope of the consent search warrant, but we've seen the MSP coloring outside the line for decades. Many of you have too. So I don't have any faith that they will overturn that decision and grant Brian Walsh a new trial. Interesting. Steph says, please check out the Mia Campos case. Not much info. Okay. All right. Let me write it down. Hold on. That's also in Georgia, right? And there's this tragic story of the husband and wife who were murdered in Ohio, the dentist. Have not had a chance to even dive into that yet either. The watcher is here. Thanks for your 5. Says, I just started the hearing. Finally, a courtroom in Massachusetts where the state is not attached to the bench. It ain't that hard to have them next to each other. Right. Thanks for pointing that out. I forgot to point that out. That's Plymouth Superior. That is Plymouth Superior Court. Thanks, the watcher. And Sherry Thompson is here. And thank you for your super sticker. Tell your friends to come on over if they want to know that Alan Jackson has withdrawn from the Reiner case, that we're here and that we're going to cover whatever statements he makes outside the courtroom because Law and Crime is there with their camera. And as is TMZ, but TMZ doesn't like when you play their footage. They don't like it. They copyright strike you and then they want any revenue. Law and Crime is pretty cool so far. Oh, interesting. Well, please. Oh. Oh. I'm sorry. I just got an audition for a really big, apparently, limited series. Okay. All right. Thanks. My agent's like working on it. Well done. For those of you who don't know, I also am an actor. Per Law and Crime, AJ withdrew and there's no live stream. No, but they have their camera outside to ask questions. So they'll turn the cameras on when he's outside. We just read the article from TMZ. They broke the story. Thank you. No, I can't tell you what it's about, but I can tell you there was another audition that I had, and I told you guys I would tell you about it after it airs. And so I can tell you, does anybody watch Elsbeth? Does anybody watch Elsbeth? It's kind of like Columbo, but it's a female in the role of Elsbeth. Does anybody watch it? Tell me if you watch it. Yes, you watch it. Yeah, so there was an episode that aired recently about nuns and about somebody kind of like Cardi B buying the church to make videos in it. Do you remember that episode? I want to say it was episode 7. And I auditioned to play one of the nuns, the nun that was the one who rang the bell, and then it knocked the Cardi B type girl out of the thing and she died. But it was really Mother Superior who set it all up. And Mother Superior was played by Diane Wiest. And I thought I nailed the audition, but the actor who did get the role has a ton of credits and a ton more experience. And because there's not a lot of work lately, they tend to go with actors that have much more extensive resumes than I do. But it was a cool episode, and had I booked it, I would have had Diane Wiest as my scene partner, which would have been so cool. So cool. Sweet Lorraine says, sorry, I'm late. Are you covering the Alexander Brothers trial? Begins January 26th. Thanks for all you covered. That's federal, right? There's not going to be cameras in the courtroom. There's not going to be cameras in the courtroom. And so in order for me to cover it, I'd have to go into Manhattan every single day. And I don't know how easy it is. I did it for Daniel Penny. I didn't go every single day. I went once and met Mark Bettera there, and we had lunch in Little Italy. So I have covered the Alexander Brothers situation in at least one stream, maybe 2. There's a playlist. I am highly interested. However, I think that if you're talking about the New York trial, is it the New York trial or is it the Florida trial? If it is not the federal trial and it's going to be live streamed, I absolutely want to cover it. Also, people have asked me about the Paul Caniero trial in New Jersey. And as much as I am interested in that trial, I have heard it's going to be 10 weeks long, and I can't commit 10 weeks to that. Paul Caniero is a guy who's accused of taking the lives of his brother, his sister-in-law, and their 2 children, and setting their house on fire to cover it up. Do you guys remember that? I can't remember when it happened. I don't know. 2018 kind of rings a bell to me. The case has been around for a long time. I don't know if it's going to be live streamed. Maybe we could do some catch-ups on it. But I need to go where my audience wants to go. And so if you guys want to go, I'm very interested in the Alexander Brothers. I will link in the show notes below, or you can just go find them on my channel. The 1 or 2 streams I've already done. We read the federal indictment documents. They were wild. Absolutely horrific. So I have to do Alexander. And I just don't know if that is the Florida trial or the federal trial. Federal usually comes up quicker. But I think that they are prosecuting those Alexander brothers in Florida as well. So I got to look into it. Thank you for reminding me. Because those 2 allegedly got away with a lot of trafficking of a lot of women from the Hamptons to South Beach and all over the place. Yes, we know that Alan Jackson resigned. Thank you so much. We just covered it a few moments ago. We read the article from TMZ. And now we're waiting to see if he comes outside court to give a statement. And so, yes, we absolutely have already covered that moments ago. Tell me you're late without telling me that you're late. And I'm just joking because it doesn't matter if you're late. It's quite all right. I need to refresh my browser again because StreamYard sucks. And for what they charge for StreamYard, they have no right to suck. So hold on while I refresh my browser, or we won't be able to hear whatever happens outside the courthouse. Hold, please. I'm back. Okay. Kay says, are you still consider covering the trial of Brendan Banfield? They're picking a jury next Monday. Sounds very interesting. Yes, we did talk about that as a possibility. It's going to depend on when it starts. That's the au pair case. Brendan Banfield is accused of killing his wife and another man who was randomly inside the house. And the au pair, the Brazilian au pair, was also arrested. She worked out a deal where she's going to testify against Banfield in exchange for just being let out of jail. And so that's wild. Associated Press doesn't like me restreaming their stream either, so I'm just going to wait for Law and Crime if you don't mind. The thing is that I've got a date with Dave Matthews at the end of this month, the week of the 20th of January. And so knowing what I know about the Wi-Fi in Cancun, it's not the greatest. And so if it falls during that week, it's going to be hard for me to cover. It's going to be hard for me to even be able to cover Aidan Carney's hearing on that Friday, but I will try. So there's that. So Banfield, I mean, it's wild to me that they're just going to let the au pair go. And the story's wild. We went over it a while ago, a couple shows ago. So it depends. The answer is, Kay, it depends. It depends. Thank you very much for your 10. I appreciate you with all of my heart. Gen X Jen says, also the Micah Miller case in, is it South Carolina? Passed her husband, indicted for harassing her so bad she killed herself. Yeah, that's a very interesting case to me too. Took a long time for him to be arrested also, right? Oh, I actually did take you to Cancun with me last year. Do you remember? And I'll let you hear some of the music. Oh, please. Oh, please. I mean, Kathy Russin said that they were going to put their cameras on as soon as they're doing. Well, I mean, Court TV is showing like some background right now, but they don't have any cameras like actually live. And we did. We went to Cancun together. I mean, Court TV has a live feed up, but right now it's just, they're just doing background on it. So
Have an attorney withdraw. No arraignment today. They'll just set a new date for that and give the new attorney, whoever it is, time.
Yes, the attorney's going to have to meet him, interview.
I really like Maria Pereira a lot. I would love to get her on the show. If anybody knows how to reach her, let me know. I really like her a lot. She's got like common sense.
Him, see if he's okay with him being assigned as the attorney. Although for the most part, if you're indigent, and that's who the type of person that gets a free attorney, a public defender, is someone who has no money to pay. Because in America, if you're accused of something that has to do with your freedom, a criminal case, if you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you. And you don't really have much say in who it is unless there's a big difference and meeting of the minds. You get the attorney that they appoint for you.
But the high-profile case, you can be assured it's going to be someone with experience. We're going to get a break. Marie, stand by. When we come back, more Nick Reiner, plus that Washington State trial. Busy Wednesday at Court TV.
I guess they're going to wait outside the courthouse too, because I don't think Alan Jackson has given. Well, let me see. Hold on. I see Alan Jackson in front of a microphone. If I withdraw, if I rewind, here you go.
Updates on it from right now, Marie. So just a surprise, because I believe, we have some sound from when Alan Jackson came out and was going to represent Nick. I think we have that queued up. Why don't we go ahead and play that? We can talk about that on the other side.
Thank you. Because let me just say, these two hosts on Court TV, I love Vinny. These two have integrity. They are not convicting everyone before trial the way Julie Grant did with Sarah Grace Patrick and Karen Reed and every other person that she screams about on her morning show. These two I like. I like these two. Props up to Court TV for having them. All right, this is old. I have the camera
I just have
up.
a couple of quick words. First of all, and most importantly, this is a devastating tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. These need to be thoroughly, but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed. We ask that during this process, you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves. So with that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment.
That's
the
today.
next court date. And that's all I have to say at this point. There may be more at some other point, but today we're going to rest on where we stand procedurally, which is this was a continuance of arraignment. Nothing happened today substantively. We'll be back for arraignment in the same.
This was the last time they were in court. And he's talking about today. And the breaking news from TMZ is that Alan Jackson has resigned. Public defender is being appointed for Nick Reiner. And the arraignment is supposed to be today, but it seems like they're not going to enter a plea for him today. We don't know why Alan Jackson has withdrawn yet. And so we are waiting with Law and Crimes cameras outside the courthouse to see if he comes out and gives a statement. And we've also been told that the family is going to give a statement. So this is old again, but we're waiting.
On the 7th of January, we'll see you then.
Yeah, so Marie, we heard Alan Jackson there talking about this, talking about it being a complex case. He was saying a lot of parts to this.
A lot of parts, a lot of money. I can't imagine what his retainer is for something such as like this. Could be $1 million. And as of right now, we're just going to wait and see if anything else happens. If they were able to record what happened inside the courthouse. And they might not have been able to. They might not have been able to live stream it. They might have been able to record it, and then we can just play the replay, which we will do. And so we're just waiting because we do that a lot. We wait, especially when there's breaking news. But here was the headline from moments ago from TMZ that Alan Jackson has withdrawn from representing Nick Reiner. Yes, it is true. Thanks, Linda, for becoming a member. Thank you, sweet Lorraine. That it's in, the Alexander trial is in Florida. If it is, yeah, I'm there. It's a wild case of two brothers with privilege who were very high-end real estate brokers in New York City, and allegedly they're accused of taking advantage of many women. Taking advantage of, I mean, graping and other things. So that is a very interesting trial to me. Orrin Alexander and his brother. Let's see what Ted Rollins is talking about now.
Oh, and we are awaiting a statement.
LA.
Oh, please. Okay.
Welcome back to Court TV Live along with Kelly Craft and Ted Rollins. We're reacting to the breaking news out of Los Angeles. Nick Reiner, who was supposed to be arraigned formally today in a Los Angeles courtroom and represented by Alan Jackson, is going to do neither. He is not going to be arraigned today. That's going to be pushed back. And according to multiple sources and reporting out of LA, Alan Jackson is off the case, no longer representing Nick Reiner.
Yeah, this breaking news just took place a short time ago, and we are awaiting a statement from the Reiner family as to.
Here we go. Law and Crime is live outside, doing the Lord's work. And so now we're awaiting a statement from the Reiner family, and everybody's there. This is in Los Angeles. But for right now, I'm going to let's go back here and see what they're talking about.
A short time from now, the Reiner family is going to be issuing a statement or talking about the reason as to why this departure has taken place.
Let's bring in our guest for the hour and get some reaction. She is joining us now from New Jersey, Livingston, New Jersey. Crystal Pettiford. Chris, what's your take on this high-profile case? Obviously, high-profile.
All right, we don't need to hear takes. We can just put the cameras on outside. And I'm a little bit behind, so let's see if they have come out yet. Sometimes we like the raw footage. The only thing that this means is that we will not get captions on the live stream, but it is what it is. Hello, camera person, what is this? Hot mic. Somebody fix this. Somebody fix this. I don't know what's going on there. We'll go back to, well, for now, we're going to go back to court TV.
Use that money to represent you at trial. So could it be about money, Crystal, at the end of the day?
Of course. It's always about money.
I
Follow
mean,
the
it's
money.
always a possibility, but Mr. Jackson is a very experienced attorney. I'm sure he's fully aware that Nick Reiner would not have been able to reap the benefits or of any money willed to him or left to him and as a result of his parents' death. So I think.
Okay, hold on, because now they have a judge's face up on law and crime. So let's go there for one moment. We're doing the Lord's work over here, you guys, always. But there is no sound with that yet. It's the scene outside the courthouse. This is the judge's face, I presume. She looks like Sarah Paulson. You think? I mean, Sarah Paulson plays everybody. She plays every character everywhere. And this seems to be just a still shot, but the chyron is moving, so we know that it is alive. And I have the sound on. So let's see what happens. She looks like Sarah Paulson, right? While we're on the topic of Sarah Paulson, has anybody watched that show? That show, All's Fair, with Kim Kardashian, Glenn Close, Sarah Paulson, and some other people. It's about a bunch of female divorce lawyers. And it's almost like a hate watch at this point. I think I only watched one episode. So tell me what you think about it if you've tried to watch All's Fair. I think it's called All's Fair. All's Fair. Oh, the other thing I fell into. All Her Fault. Has anybody watched All Her Fault? Do not spoil it for me because I'm only on episode like 5, but it sucks you in. It totally sucks you in. All Her Fault. All right, back to All's Fair. The cast of All's Fair is top heavy. Yep.
So calling People versus Nick Reiner, case number 25 CJC F08098.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson, on behalf of Mr. Reiner, who is present in court out of custody. I'm sorry, in custody.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Habib Balian for the people.
Your Honor, we have a matter of housekeeping that I'd like to address in chambers and dealing with the 10 subpoenas that are outstanding. There are 10 current subpoenas that are outstanding. We would ask that
Hold on. It just skipped forward, so I'm going to just take it back a moment so we can listen to it. And I may need to boost it a little bit more.
So calling People versus Nick Reiner, case number 25 CJC F08098.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson, on behalf of Mr. Reiner, who is present in court out of custody. I'm sorry, in custody.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Habib Balian for the people.
Your Honor, we have a matter of housekeeping that I'd like to address in chambers in dealing with the 10 subpoenas that are outstanding. There are 10 current subpoenas that are outstanding. We would ask that body attachments be issued and held for each of the 10, specifically with subpoena number 4 on the list and subpoena number 10 on the list. Counsel for both of those individuals or those parties have appeared in court. They're here with us today. We have no principled objection to an extension of time for them to comply with the subpoena, but to maintain jurisdiction, we would ask that body attachments be issued.
I don't have a list. I'd like to get a copy, and I haven't seen the proof of service, but I assume the court.
Did counsel for 4 and 10 present?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm not sure which number I am.
Number 10.
I'm counsel for number 10, and we do object to issue if that would resolve the court's concerns about retaining jurisdiction. However, we see no reason, given our appearance and the fact that we are here to issue a rule of non-attachment.
And counsel for number 4?
Thank you.
In council number 10's statement, I don't see the necessity for issuing a body attachment. I too will stipulate the jurisdiction without necessarily waiving any objections we ultimately may make. But given my newness to the matter, I don't see the necessity of having a court order issued against the individuals in this circumstance.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It keeps jumping around. It's their feed.
And so, but as to the remaining numbers, that's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those the court will issue body attachment and hold it until the next court date.
And 9.
And 9.
Thank you. We have no objection to counsel's representations, given the fact that both have graciously submitted to jurisdiction with regard to 4 and 10. We think that's appropriate.
Thank you. Once again, the court will issue and hold 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Thank you.
Until the next hearing date. And we'll
Does the court have a list?
It does, and the court will seal that list as well.
We've asked
People have a copy of it?
We've asked that the court seal it specifically because it is ongoing defense investigator data or evidence that we recover or we get. Our counsel on behalf of Mr. Reiner gets, and that is discoverable. We'll comply with our counsel will comply with all discovered allegations at that time.
Can you address the council's request to provide a copy to the people?
That's the point. We think that should not be done because that would implicate ongoing investigative efforts by the defense, and it would compromise Mr. Reiner's right to a fair trial and his right to maintain his investigation with some level of confidence or confidentiality, I should say.
So at this time, the court will just seal it until the next court hearing date.
Thank you.
And how else would you like to proceed?
Your Honor, at this time, I, on behalf of Workman Jackson and Quinn, and with Mr. Reiner's understanding and consent, would ask to withdraw as counsel of record based on the conversation that we've had.
There it is. He announced to the court that he has withdrawn as counsel. We're going to just take it back and watch it again. Alan Jackson is no longer Nick Reiner's attorney, and here is where he tells Judge Teresa McGonigal that is his intention.
Or confidentiality, I should say.
So at this time, the court will just seal it until the next court hearing date.
Thank you.
And how else would you like to proceed?
Your Honor, at this time, I, on behalf of Workman Jackson and Quinn, and with Mr. Reiner's understanding and consent, would ask to withdraw as counsel of record based on the conversation that we've had in chambers and the explanation that we've provided to the court in chambers. We feel that we have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel and ask to be relieved. The Public Defender's Office has been notified. We've had conversations with them. They are here. They're staffed. They're ready to take over. My understanding is they are ready for the appointment immediately, forthwith.
Forthwith.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kimberly from the Public Defender's Office. That is correct.
So the court will case, and so that firm is relieved as counsel of record, and the court appoints the Public Defender's Office to represent Mr. Reiner.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Current counsel turnover, any items that they received.
We will absolutely comply with that. We've already begun. The mediation has been met.
Your Honor, there's a protective order issued by the court in place regarding the handling of discovery order that's remained in place for now. and we will serve a copy of that on the public defender's office, along with the discovery we provide.
Yes, the court will order that order.
To me from Mr. Bailey raises a very sage point. I'm under a protective order not to provide our discovery to anybody else. That would text providing the information only to Ms. Green in her office. Then I can be in full compliance with the protective order.
Anything to the people, any response to that request?
No problem. I believe the protective order spells out that it covers Mr. Jackson's firm as well as any successor counsel.
Thank you.
So you can provide everything to Ms. Green.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Back on the record in People versus Nick Reiner, case number 25 CJC F08098.
Good morning, Kimberly Green, DRTE, from the Federal Defender's Office on behalf of Mr. Reiner, who again is present.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Habib Alien, representing the people of the state of California.
Thank you.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, we'd ask to put over the arraignment one last time to February 23rd, if that date is appropriate.
That date is fine, the court.
Thank you, and I will work with Ms. Green to get her discovery prior to that date.
I'll take any waiver for your entitled. You have a constitutional statutory right to a speedy arraignment. Your counsel, Ms. Green from the Public Defender's Office, is requesting that your arraignment be continued to February the 23rd, 2026. In this department, do you waive your right to be arraigned today so that your matter may be continued to February 23rd, 2026 for arraignment?
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. Is counsel doing that waiver?
I do, Your Honor.
The court finds that the defendant has made a knowing and intelligent waiver of his right to a speedy arraignment, and that his counsel of record joins in that waiver. Matter set for arraignment in this department, February 23rd, 2026. Bail remains at no bail. Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's the end of that one. So I'll loop it.
So you should loop it, but you don't need to have a hot mic while you're doing it. All right, well, we can move forward a little bit. The Reiner family is scheduled to make a statement. To me, it sounds like this is not about money. It sounds like Alan Jackson has, and I'm just spitballing with you here, a conflict. It sounds like they had to send out 10 subpoenas for something. And because Alan Jackson is a high-profile celebrity defense attorney, it may be that he has represented somebody that he had to subpoena in the past, and that would be a conflict for him. And so it could be that somebody who is a witness or is anticipated to be a witness, one of the celebrities, maybe at Conan O'Brien's party, maybe Alan has represented them in the past, and so therefore he would have to withdraw. And so what the judge did is appointed the public defender's office for today to represent him because he was present in court. The camera did not show Nick Reiner at all, but he was there. And the Judge McGonigal took a knowing waiver from him that he's waiving his right to a speedy arraignment and that it's being put over to February 23rd, 2026. And so right now, knowing nothing is that he said we must withdraw. Okay, so I'm not sure what that means. I'm not going to speculate about it until I know for sure. That is what my gut is telling me right this moment. Law and Crime looks like they're going to replay that again, perhaps without skipping the feed all around. But let me see if they're outside. They are out, so they're waiting for a statement from the Reiners, maybe from Alan Jackson. Right. If he has money, he could get another high-profile lawyer, but not for today. I mean, it had to be done today so that he could be advised. He couldn't be unrepresented today. That's the issue. So I'm going to take it back a moment because it sounds like Law and Crime got it together and maybe had it without skipping all over audio. And this is only about 3 minutes back, so we're going to play it again.
Nick Reiner, case number 25.
Maybe they edited it.
F08098.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson, on behalf of Mr. Reiner, who is present in court out of custody. I'm sorry, in custody.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Habib Alien for the people.
Your Honor, we
No,
have a
it
matter of
skips all over.
housekeeping, that I'd like to address in chambers. And dealing with the 10 subpoenas that are outstanding. There are 10 current subpoenas that are outstanding. We would ask that body attachments be issued and held for each of the 10, specifically with subpoena number 4 on the list and subpoena number 10 on the list. Counsel for both of those individuals or those parties have appeared in court. They're here with us today. We have no principled objection to an extension of time for them to comply with the subpoena, but to maintain jurisdiction, we would ask that body attachments be issued.
I don't have the list.
I don't. Okay, if anybody knows who this young lady is on the left, don't know if that is Rory. I'm not sure who this man in the green tie is either. They have not shown Nick Reiner's face at all. So there's 10 subpoenas that were issued. He said, I need to talk to you in chambers. And so then they went into chambers and then they came back into court. That's why this is so jumpy, this feed. So hold on.
I'd like to get a copy, and I haven't seen the proof of service, but I assume the court.
Did counsel for 4 and 10 present?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm not sure which number I am.
Number 10.
I'm counsel for number 10, and we do object to issue if that would resolve the court's concerns about retaining jurisdiction. However, we see no reason, given our appearance and the fact that we are.
Well, and then it jumps to live, so they didn't play the whole thing. However, Alan Jackson did say that he was forced to withdraw. Let me go back to the original feed just to get his exact words. It goes around here.
Court in chambers, we feel that we have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel asked.
We have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel. We have no choice. It sounds like he's got a conflict. Doesn't sound like it's about money. Sounds like we have no choice. I've talked to my partners, and on behalf of my firm, we have no choice but to withdraw. Let's hear that again.
Court in chambers, we feel that we have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel asked to be relieved. The Public Defender's Office has been notified. We've had conversations with them. They are here. They're staffed. They're ready to take over. My understanding is they are ready for the appointment immediately.
Okay, so they're going to get appointed immediately and most likely temporarily. The arraignment is not happening today, did not happen today. But it is very important that the defendant is represented at all times. And so right away, the judge substituted in the public defender's office. A woman by the name of Kimberly Green is the attorney and asked for an adjournment. And so it is going to be adjourned until February 23rd. And right now the cameras are waiting outside for a statement from the Reiner family. So we're going to cut to that live. Wait for them to come out to see if Alan Jackson speaks to the media at all.
Test 1, 2, check, check, check.
Check, check, check. We got it. Check, check, check. 1, 2. Something about 10 subpoenas going out. And Alan Jackson asked the court to hold body attachments for the 10 subpoenas. And that means that even though he has to withdraw and his firm must withdraw, he would ask that the court deem the subpoenas valid. And a subpoena is typically something that is served on a party to appear in court or a witness or somebody else. Ask the court to hold body attachment for those subpoenas, meaning not to vacate the subpoenas, but to make sure that they're still enforceable in the interim, while perhaps Nick Reiner gets another private attorney. I can't imagine family and friends of Nick Reiner not helping to try and get him a private attorney. And so we're going to wait. Yeah, something about subpoena 4 and subpoena 10. I don't know if they're in the court file. This is all unplanned. We thought there was just going to be an arraignment today and that Alan Jackson would likely have his client enter a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, but that is not happening. Law and crime needs to up their video game, says Deborah. And so if you are just joining, Ellen Jackson has withdrawn from representing Nick Reiner, and we are waiting outside of court for not only the Reiner family statement, but also in case Alan Jackson comes out to speak.
I love you, Alan. I love you.
I hate when people that are just like randos start yelling in the camera, start trying to photobomb whoever they're filming. So déclassé. I'm going to just put it on mute until somebody steps up to the mic because I can't even. That's what I thought. I thought Big Old Dog, one of his clients may have been at a party and needs to testify. All right. And in that case, it's a conflict. And unless he gets the client to waive both clients to waive the conflict, which can happen, only then, under the rules of ethics, would he be still able to represent Nick Reiner. But I don't think it's about money. A lot of people in the chat were thinking it's about money. And so I don't know. Any reason that Nick hasn't been shown? None that I'm aware of. None that I'm aware of, but let's wait and hear what Alan Jackson has to say. Let's hear it from the, as such, Butter's mouth. Let's hear it from the mouth of smooth as butter, Alan Jackson himself. Rather than speculate, my gut reaction is that there's some kind of conflict. And so we will just wait. But TMZ was right. They often get the scoop. As of 10:06 Pacific, which was moments ago, TMZ is reporting that a spokesperson for the Reiner family released a statement on Nick's change of legal representation, saying they have the utmost trust in the legal process. Here, I'll put this up for you. As of 10:06 a.m. Pacific, moments ago, spokesperson for the Reiner family released a statement on Nick's change of legal representation, saying they have the utmost trust in the legal process and will not comment further on matters related to the legal proceedings. A source told the New York Times the change had nothing to do with Alan Jackson's performance, in quotes, and that he has been a pro. As of 9:52 a.m. Pacific, Nick Reiner's new attorney is public defender Kimberly Green, for now, who has 19 years experience, for now. And here's a picture of Kimberly Green. We just saw her in court. The judge signed off on Nick's change of legal representation and set a new arraignment date for February 23rd. Nick spoke up in court saying, yeah, I agree with that. Nick is leaving the courtroom and going back to jail. He still has no bail, and Alan is about to address the media. And so, still waiting for Alan to address the media. And we'll wait and hear what he says instead of speculating, right? You should always trust your gut. Somebody said, my gut is always right. Not always. Well, I mean, most of the time. Most of the time. Listen, we all have intuition. You should use it. You should always trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it's probably wrong. I mean, that's what I tell my kids anyway. If it feels wrong, it's probably wrong. Don't do it. Don't do it. And like the talking heads say, we're still waiting. These reporters are really out there too, doing the Lord's work and waiting all the time, waiting. So we'll see. We're here for it. Alan Jackson never met a microphone he doesn't like, so I'm pretty sure he's probably going to come out and say something. I do not think it has to do with money. I just don't. See a lot of speculation in the chat that it has to do with money. My gut tells me no. My gut tells me that there may be a conflict because of Alan Jackson's own words. We have no choice but to withdraw. We have no choice but to withdraw. That's what he said. And often you have no choice but to withdraw when there's a conflict. Just like Robert Cosgrove should withdraw based on the code of ethics that every attorney must adhere to. If you have a conflict, you must withdraw. It's not an option. That is my guess. Because Macoma says if it was about money, the family wouldn't have hired AJ in the first place. That too is a good point. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. LB says, I love that AJ made absolutely sure that someone else was there to represent his client before leaving. Yes. He says that he notified the public defender's office that they were ready to step in for now, today, so that he was represented today, because it would be unethical for Alan Jackson, if he has a conflict, to advise Nick Reiner in any way. It would just be unethical. And Alan Jackson has ethics, even though many people out there on the cesspool of Twitter don't think he does. He actually does. It's a very high profile case. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to be very expensive. Right. And follow through on the subpoenas. That's right. He did. He said, I want to make sure, Judge, that there's a body attachment on these subpoenas, that these subpoenas don't go moot or invalid because I have to withdraw today. Right. Right. So we'll see. And he may not be able to say anything because he's got attorney-client confidentiality if it's a conflict with whoever the prior or current client is, and he's has attorney-client confidentiality with Nick Reiner, who he has represented up until today. And so even if this person, who may be a witness at this case, maybe if that's what it is, was a client of Alan's years ago, it's still a conflict. Still a conflict. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a current client. It could also be a past client. I don't think they went out the back door because I think they're all still waiting there, including TMZ's live feed. So they're waiting. We wait. Probably have to clip this up later and make it shorter. It could be a million things. I'm not going to speculate about it. My gut says conflict. There were 10 subpoenas that he discussed in court, 10 subpoenas that are out there. And so he doesn't go out the back door. Have you met him? Thank you. We have an emoji just for Alan. It's smooth as butter, the smooth as butter emoji. And made that specifically for Alan Jackson because he is smooth as butter. There you go. He doesn't go out the back door. He's never met a microphone he doesn't like. Let's face it. He's a Hollywood lawyer. He knows how to address the media. He's always got a very specific media plan. And you never know. Let's wait. J.R. Kuber says the Frazier Bohm case is going to be really interesting too. I hope we can cover it. I don't think there's going to be cameras in that courtroom. I don't think there's going to be. Thank you. Thank you, J.R. Kuber. And I have done everything in my power to get documents on that case, and it's virtually impossible. Somebody even went down to Van Nuys Courthouse to get the documents and pay for them. However, they were told there's only one public computer from which you can get these court documents, and it's broken. Sorry. Wild. Mitchell says, my gut says cornflakes right now. Oh, this happens a lot in attorneys. Melissa P says, happened to me when I got divorced. Walk in to hire attorney. So he had represented my ex previously, and I told him about the conflict. Well, here's what high net worth people do. And it's very common. When they decide that they're thinking about getting a divorce, they go and they have a consult with every single high profile defense attorney in the city. And then if their spouse goes to hire that high profile attorney, that attorney is then conflicted out because they just met with the spouse for a consult. This is live as of this moment.
Yeah, right here, right here. Yeah. Good morning. As you know, my name is Alan Jackson. This morning, I had to withdraw as Nick Reiner's counsel. Circumstances beyond our control, but more importantly, circumstances beyond Nick's control have dictated that, sadly, it's made it impossible for us to continue our representation of Nick. I'm legally and I'm ethically prohibited from explaining all the reasons why. I know that's a question on everybody's mind. We expect the public defender to step in. They've already been appointed and very capably protect Nick Reiner's interests as he moves forward through the system. But be clear, be very, very clear about this. My team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick Reiner and to his best interests. In fact, we know, we're not just convinced, we know that the legal process will reveal the true facts of the circumstances surrounding this case, Nick's case. You know, a lot's been printed of late, over the last 3 weeks. A lot has been printed about Nick, printed about his family, printed about the circumstances. Speculation is in print. On December 15th, in the early morning hours, I was in New York at the time, and I got a call. Me and my team, we dropped everything. And for the last 3 weeks, we have devoted literally every waking hour to protecting Nick and his interests. We've investigated this matter top to bottom, back to front. What we've learned, and you can take this to the bank, is that pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder.
Wow.
Print that. Print that. We wish him the very, very best moving forward. And that's all I have today.
That's it. Print that. He's very upset that he had to withdraw. He's devoted every waking hour to this case since he got the call on December 15th. And he had
another thing.
Withdraw. Oh, wait, he's not done yet. He said, and another thing. I thought he said, and another thing. Did I? Hold on. Print that. He is not guilty. Hold on. I thought he said, and another thing. Did I? Some other people are going to step up to the microphone now, including the public defender. Her name is Kimberly Green. It sounds like she's going to give a statement, or it looks like she's going to give a statement as well. Oh, was someone in the crowd? It sounded like Alan to me. I mean, I do know his voice, right? We know it. We've been listening to it for years. And they're waiting politely to see if anybody's interested in hearing what they have to say. And they're apparently not, because Law and Crime cut their feed. Wow, just wow. Okay, for those of you, if you're just joining, we're going to go back to Alan Jackson's statement that he just gave outside the Los Angeles courthouse moments ago. Hold on. Oh, except they just pivoted to Corey Richens. Forget it. We don't need to see that. We're going to just rewind it a moment. Watch Alan Jackson's statement one more time. He seems very, very upset. Hold on. Hold, please. They take their feed down? 1 minute. Hold on a second. I got it. All right. Moments ago, Alan Jackson came to the podium or the microphones outside the Los Angeles courthouse and gave this statement. Yes, you're not seeing things. That is Evan Woke behind him, who did assist in the Karen Reed trial. I believe he was an intern and a law student at the time. And after the Karen Reed trial was over, he was offered a job with Alan Jackson's firm. And that is him behind Alan Jackson, the tallest man in the group. Let's listen to that again, if you're just joining.
I had to withdraw as...
All right, I got to boost the volume, so 1 moment. It's always something. And here we go.
Good morning. As you know, my name is Alan Jackson. This morning, I had to withdraw as Nick Reiner's counsel.
Had to.
Circumstances beyond our control, but more importantly, circumstances beyond Nick's control have dictated that, sadly, it's made it impossible for us to continue our representation of Nick. I'm legally and I'm ethically prohibited from explaining all the reasons why. I know that's a question on everybody's mind.
Legally and ethically prohibited from explaining the reasons why. It must be a conflict. He's not allowed to talk about it. But he sounds very upset that he will not be representing Nick Reiner. He is a passionate advocate for justice. He is one of the most zealous defense attorneys we have ever seen. And this is a replay of what he just said moments ago. Evan went to Boston College Law School, right? And then they offered him a job, right? And there he is.
We expect the public defender to step in. They've already been appointed and very capably protect Nick Reiner's interests as he moves forward through the system. But be clear, be very, very clear about this. My team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick Reiner and to his best interests. In fact, we know, we're not just convinced, we know that the legal process will reveal the true facts of the circumstances surrounding this case, Nick's case. You know, a lot's been printed of late, over the last 3 weeks. A lot has been printed about Nick, printed about his family, printed about the circumstances. Speculation is in print. On December 15th, in the early morning hours, I was in New York at the time, and I got a call. Me and my team, we dropped everything. And for the last 3 weeks, we have devoted literally every waking hour to protecting Nick and his interests. We've investigated this matter top to bottom, back to front.
Wow, he's done a lot of work. He's very upset.
What we've learned, and you can take this to the bank, is that pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder.
Pursuant to the law, he's not guilty of murder. He's going to say he's legally insane. Under the law, he's insane, and therefore he is not guilty of murder. That is where I think he's going with this, but he's not allowed to talk about whatever it is, whatever the reason is that forced him and his firm to withdraw. So if you weren't here the first time, listen to it again. Print that. Listen.
Laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Print that. Print that. We wish him the very, very best moving forward. And that's all I have today.
And that's all he wrote. And that's all he wrote. Somebody said the public defender gave a statement after Law and Crime cut their cameras off. Let me turn back to Court TV and see if they perhaps got it. One moment. They're on to something else now over there. It seems like the cheating fire chief murder trial on Court TV. Did they even cover Alan's statement? I don't know. If anybody knows like a news organization that has it up on YouTube, the public defender's statement, let me know and we can cut to that quickly before we break for the day. I don't even think they got Alan Jackson's live statement, Court TV. Doesn't look like it. Maybe they did, but we have Law and Crime, and so we're out here doing the Lord's work. Alan Jackson at his best. Listen, despite what his haters think, the man has ethics, and I nothing breaks his heart more, I imagine, than having to step away from this case. Cal Sub says I could watch Alan speak all day. What an orator. He's pretty amazing. I mean, he's a zealous advocate, that's for sure. Let me see if I have any further questions, thoughts, questions, comments, concerns. I'm probably going to break this into a shorter video and just release it on its own since we did two things today. We did the Lindsay Clancy hearing earlier in the day, and then we broke live to Alan Jackson's statements, and we saw some court footage in which he told the judge, Judge Teresa McGonigal, they spoke about 10 subpoenas. Alan Jackson wants to make sure that there are body attachments for those subpoenas, meaning that they will still be valid. They went into chambers, they talked about something, and I'm sure they talked about the reasons that he must withdraw from this case and his firm must withdraw from the case. And then they came out, they put it on the record, and Alan Jackson had spoke to the public defender's office, and they stepped in the moment to represent Nick Reiner because Nick Reiner was in court and he had every right to be represented throughout the entirety of today's proceedings. Therefore, this case has been put over until, as of right now, February 23rd, 2026. February 3rd, 2026. And at that time, either he will have a different private attorney or he will be represented by the public defender's office. And we'll see what happens then. Print that, he said. Print that. Yeah, Reuters. Yeah, those guys don't like anybody replaying their stuff. They'll strike the stream. It's not worth it. All right. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns before we wrap for the day. We've been here for almost 3 hours today. Thank you to the moderators for doing the Lord's work. Everyone, please do all the things that YouTube likes. Smash the like button, share the stream out, all the things and stuff. All the things and stuff. There are certain news organizations that don't allow people to play their streams, and they do strike your entire stream. Reuters is one. AP is another, unless they have it on a local. Even KTLA doesn't like it. That's why we use Law and Crime and Court TV. Go to the Daily Mail if you want to look at it. Thanks, you guys. I love you with all my heart. We're going to catch up on Aaron Spencer soon, I promise you. Until then, stay cool, stay kind, stay classy. Thank your moderators, tip your servers, and I'll be here all week. Peace.